Hello, everyone, and welcome to RHAP's coverage of Survivor 47 for Survivor Global. I'm your host, Shannon Guss, here to talk about Episode 7. There's a split tribal council that has been acknowledged and received with much acclaim. Everyone loved it. We're here to talk about it today. I have two great guests with me. I've been loving doing these three-person podcasts, getting a little bit of the global Survivor dynamic in there with people who've played together. And we have an invisible hand recap here for you today. First, I will welcome someone who says Soul Stan, I'm seeing now as his Chiron. Yes, it is the great Mount Warnock. Third place, Australian Survivor Titans v Rebels. Mike, how are you doing?
Mate, my heart and soul is in this podcast right now. I'm so happy to join. There,
I forgot that podcasting with Mark means like he's got the puns ready to go. Like they are there. And with Eden, it's going to be the references. So are we going to get any actual conversation between those two things? I'm not 100% sure. We're going to see what is actually a non-pun, non-reference statement today.
I am a soldier in his army, ready to go. No, look, thanks for having me on, Shannon. This is really fun. I'm really excited to see how wild and wacky this gets with Eden on as well. So, yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. I'm sorry for the look of pain at the soul pun. I do love a good pun, you know? And I think with
I'm disappointed.
Soul and
You're
soldier.
like, what? I'm like, come on. Like, how many Q puns did you have last season? And I roll out one, heart and soul. Like, come on.
Yeah, you're right. I'm the huge hypocrite.
Like, if you dish it, you got to take it, you know?
100%. No, I'm the worst. I'm like, really? 2 soul puns? This is a guy, is going to have puns. And I was literally speaking in a different Q language 6 months ago. So, yeah, but I never said that I was okay.
Forget Q. It's the soul show right now.
Forget Q, go home, goodbye. That's what the famous confessional is. I'm not going back to speaking in Q, okay? I had to unlearn. It was a long few months of my life. But yes, and someone who maybe will have a reference for us coming up right now. He unfortunately just missed the jury on Titans v Rebels. We brought him in for some trauma. It's a great Eden Porter. Eden, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Shan. I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to add because, as you can see, I'm simply a person of low information. I'm just gonna be here to support Mark and support you, Shan, because I'm fired up for this episode. I think this is my episode. This is the missing out on the jury episode. And did you notice that Jeff just had to get the knife and actually say, as punishment for losing this, you will not make the jury.
That's what they call it now. Getting as a penalty. It's like, yes, for not progressing to that phase. That's the penalty that you get. That you're removed from the jury before you're even in it. It's a jury removal twist, but you just also never get to the jury before you're removed from the jury.
Yeah, you would have been okay, but because you lost, cop that. Okay. Jeff, he's going.
And I know that cuts extra deep for Eden because I remember every single time after the merge before the jury, Eden always commented when JLP was like, and at the immunity challenge, he was like, whoever wins immunity, you'll be safe tonight, and then we'll be sending X number person out of the game. And then Eden was like, but they didn't say to the jury.
No, I know.
He was tracking it every single time.
And I was like, this is our third tribal council since we've been merged. This has to be a jury position, but no.
GLT, yeah, well, I don't want to, harp on it, and it's tired, and we don't need to. But I just need to ask, Eden, how many tribal councils did you go to?
What?
Right, I genuinely how many tribal councils did you go to? The fact that you have to sit here and think about it is exactly my point, right? So 3 in the Titans is a good podcasting, and then 3-ish in the swap, so 9 tribal councils.
9, and then then there was Scotty's, and then there was winners.
So I think 9 total, right? Yeah. I'm just saying, I'm not going to harp, but I do actually want to talk about it because, it's not exactly the same as Tiana missing it 2 weeks in, and whatever. Australian Survivors Extreme, the New Era is not the same thing, but she missed it on her 3rd tribal council. That's not exactly the same as you. How many days did you play? That's not the same.
When it comes up at the bottom and says day 13 at this point, I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yes,
we'd only had we'd voted off 4 people by this point, and we were it always blows my mind.
I mean, I feel very bad for Tiana, but she went out at the same number tribal council as Nathan did. It's not at the same time. It's and I do want to talk about that.
I'm tracking Andy's facial hair, and I've got more right now than he does. So
well, maybe that's an insult to Andy. I don't know if that's Yeah, but and I do want to talk about that. Before I do, how are both of you going? You've both been podcasting a bit about this season. Mark, how
Mm.
and you guys hung out this weekend without me, which is pretty rude because we had already organized to hang out this weekend doing this, and you guys hung out. But Mark, how are you doing? Firstly, tell the
Yeah,
people.
we had to just pre-game. It's the game never stops now. I'm
For
kidding.
this.
No, so yeah, that's how important this is to us, Shannon. No, I have been podcasting land has been really fun. I did a little series called Beyond the Edit where I talked to Australian Survivor players about who basically didn't feature as much as two people on our season, and that was really really fun. And then
Mark and Caroline.
no, not quite. And then Annabelle, my friend from Traders Australia, the everyone's favorite faithful, she and I have been giving life lessons for Survivor, and it's a very very silly and fun podcast on Babes on the Brink. So thanks for Shannon for allowing me to spruik that. But I've also been enjoying your coverage. I've also been enjoying Eden's Survivor debrief as well with his brother. And I'm loving all the content. It is really fun to be able to have fun. Like, let me just put this out there now, Shannon. Like, we have fun, we get silly, but we never really are mean towards the players. We're just acknowledge them as characters. So let me put out the disclaimer. I do love Sol. That is true. My love for Sol is true and real. My love for Annika is true and real. Any harsh commentary is all in jest. But yeah, no, it's been really fun to be podcasting.
Yeah. That's made up for the drama in the pre-gaming that you guys did about who are we really just going to Well, it probably will be a lot of production. So that's punching up, which is good. Yeah. Eden, so you've been, as we said, podcasting every week. And how are you doing?
Yeah. It's been really fun. Survivor debrief with my brother Joshua. He's also been a Survivor fan. He lapsed a little bit, so he hasn't watched any New Era or stuff like that. So I've been schooling him on the ways of the New Era Survivor, and it's been just really fun. I love Shannon. You know me. I love talking Survivor with anyone. So being able to do that and have a bit of fun. It's sort of short, 30 minutes. In and out, just our thoughts on each episode. It's been really fun. And we should be looking at getting some guests on coming forward, for the back half of this season as well, which would be even more fun. But excited for this podcast. I know. And then I've been up with I was up in Queensland, a movie convention, hanging out with Mark. Oh, so much fun.
Yeah, I want to be at a movie convention and hanging out with Mark. That sounds really, really fun. That sounds like a great
worlds
trip.
colliding, Shannon.
Yes. Well, thank you for making the time, both of you, to be here. And yes, for this episode, which had this big twist. Eden, how have you felt about the season overall, and how does this episode fit into that for you?
I am loving this season. I think what they've done is they've sort of honed in on some more interesting casting. I think that's been the biggest thing for this season that I've really loved. I love Andy's. I love Gabe's. I love Rome's. All these people, one thing in common, they're sloppy players, as Sierra would say. They're sloppy. And I love the sloppiness. It's added another dimension to this season. We've had some of them. It's probably been my favorite pre-merge of any of the new eras, hands down. And I think it's because of these characters. And interestingly enough, look, I don't like journeys. I hate journeys. And I hate sort of how that's all sort of put together. But those twists that have happened, that allowed Rome to hang around for longer because he would have been first out. That allowed a few other fun things to happen, which did sort of increase my enjoyment of the season so far. I'm so excited to have some big characters still in the game at this point. I'm loving I'm really loving Gabe. Caroline's come into play. Teeny, I love Teeny, but she's been pretty quiet. So I want to see some more Teeny action front and center, which would be fantastic. But a lot of good characters. And I feel like I know everyone this season. The people that were purpled have blossoms like beautiful flowers after a few episodes. So I'm really excited that the coverage has been really even across nearly all the players. And it's great. And this episode especially is very interesting. Look, I'm not a big fan of the split up twist. I think the the way that you do this is to sort of stop a begonging. I don't think there was going to be a begonging.
We hadn't even started. You're trying to stop the ball rolling. We haven't even started pushing it down the hill.
There was nothing to gong at all. And so I think this is Jeff has this in his head, right? He loves 6-person tribal councils. He's obsessed with them. He's trying to think of all the different ways to mathematically get the most 6-person tribal councils as he could possibly can. And I think this is just another way to do that. He's like, 12 people, hang on, 12 divided by 2. That's let's do some Culpeper maths.
18 we
that's
divided by
another-
3, 12 we divided by 2. We're gonna, 100%.
So this is the future of Survivor, I think, Shan. But yeah, no, really excited to break this
maybe
down.
he's a really big fan of the musical 6. It's in my head because I saw it this week. And he's just like, I want to put, you're the Aragon, you know? This one's Anna of Cleves, you know? Like this, and maybe he's trying to, I don't know, because I mean, I do think, and he said it on the On Fire podcast last week, like, I didn't realize Jeff's really scared of big votes, where a lot of people are vulnerable. And that's, I think, what's pushed Murgatory and the Split Tribal. I didn't realize that's been guiding so much of the new era. So I went back this week to be like, why is Jeff so scared of this? What went so wrong? You know, what's the Terry Deeks losers? So that's why we have a final 3. You know, what's the, you know, and because every single change has like something that happened that he didn't like. And he's like, this is bad, you know, like, except, you know,
I love that you highlight Terry Deeks.
That is why. That's why then we have a final 3, because they didn't want Terry to lose. And that's why we have a new Michelle winning, is why we have a new final tribal council format, every single thing. So I'm like, what is it? And like, I guess I'm looking back and like, well, the Chris Noble boot was lopsided, but it was great. In David versus Goliath, the Elizabeth boot was 12-1, but it didn't take away from a great season. Like I guess like the Wendell Adams split in 40 was a little sleepy, but like, is anyone looking back at that and being like, that is terrible? I mean, definitely there's been way more criticism on these votes over and over and over again, these types of split tribals, and definitely the constricted 6-person tribes, than any of those kind of like uneven, you know, or like even in Game Changers, there was like a split at the merge. All of that is fine, like all of that. So I don't know why he's so hung up on it, but I feel like if anything, like this has been, you know, people have complained a lot more. Certainly I have. Mark, tell me, what do you think about all of this?
I come back to two points: trust and tension. 2 T's for Tiana. Trust is Jeff just needs to trust the players, man. Like they were doing it. Genevieve was doing it. Andy was doing it. Like we were building towards something. It was their players are doing it. They're not dummies, you know. The players. This is what I feel about, you know, whenever I criticize the new era, I do it with like a heavy heart, because the players are doing their best. The players are trying to play their best, and they're incredible. Like the casting is incredible. I still go back to 45. I think 45 is like the best of the new era, just because I got a soft spot in my heart for them. But they are like, it's not the players' fault. They are. If you let them run, they will run. Give them the ball, they will score a touchdown. You know, but so they just need to trust them. And the reason why I think having a big tribal council is good is because even if Jeff can't count past 6, and then there's a 12-person tribal council, and even if there's a safe vote like Rome was the previous episode, it builds tension. So like a big tribal council, as Eden and I have experienced, if someone quits the game and there's not even a vote, it still builds tension because you're trying to navigate so many different people. And I think that if they just trusted the players to play hard, and they are playing hard, like everyone's playing bloody hard. Even if you get one, like I don't see one pile-on vote as being boring, because it sets up the tension for the next vote, which is what we were robbed of. So any criticism I have of the new era is absolutely targeted at someone who doesn't care what I think, Jeff. But for all the players out there, maybe he is. Like, Jeff, give me a call. But for the players out there, like I feel for the players, because they, you know, like imagine like Genevieve and Andy and Sol, like there was something, and Teeny was even trying to get into the action with the All Women's Alliance, which hopefully we'll touch on. But like they were trying, and then they had to sort of backtrack stuff, and so. I feel for the players that they didn't have the opportunity to do it, because those big tribal councils are wild. Like they're wild, and as a player, that's like the most challenging, you know, aspect of the game, even though it's day 14. But anyway, that's what I think.
The thing is, as well, as you make the content that you have out of it. Like if it's a big, you know, like the winner vote, like if it's like a big split group, that's great. If it is something where it piles on, like with Rome, you know, they made the content that they had out of that. Something like Chris Noble, like that was very entertaining. Like it's more about just using it and being like, there can be, one sleepy episode if necessary, and it's often very good. Like, if anything, they're stopping the dynamics. But I blame Henry VIII. I'm thinking that if he had 12 ex-wives, I think that he should have been and that's going to be
what's going to be interesting, Shannon?
Yeah.
If it's like, if we get down to the final 5, they've voted someone out. Does Jeff pull a new era? What was it on Pearl Islands? The Ryan and what were they called?
It was
The
Outcast
Outcast.
An
Outcast twist to rebuild the 6.
So no matter what happens, it gets a final 5, and Lil just appears out of the jungle and joins the cast.
The same uniform. She's actually improved. Like, her sleeve
been
is
waiting
full because
20 years.
her sleeve is full of
Hey, what are we doing out here? It's Lil. A little
wait, you think she's just been like a scout out on the island for 20 years? Is that?
I think they've seen her out there making fire.
She's in Jumanji. She's in the game. She's like the
Alan
like
Parrish.
a non-playing character.
Yeah.
Oh, this has gone to some places. But do you think that Lil would be the Aragon? No, it's fine. It's not important about which part of the she would be.
I think she's, if you're a scout, you have to do the challenges in order to get little patches on your shoulder. She's actually just fully covered head to toe in patches because
just been here.
She's done everything, and then now she's like, I am ready. I am learned in the game of Survivor.
What you do is you roll your shot in the dark, and because Lil must in the jungle, she must wait unless someone rolls a 5 or 8, and they roll it, and then she appears. This is all.
As you know, Eden, you don't actually roll the shot in the dark.
Yeah, well,
come on,
Shannon.
That's not how that is.
Oh, Shannon.
But also, shot in the dark, 6 sides, something is going on. Something coded Illuminati style is happening. And if you think about it, there's probably a lot going on that we need to think about, and it may be a ploy. But this is another thing that I was thinking, and that I tweeted this, because I was thinking about how Eden went to unquantifiable amount of tribal councils and still missed the jury, and Tiana went to 3. And this is the kind of stuff that I would be insecure about if I was a producer. I'd be like, are they playing? Look how much they're playing on Australian Survivor. How can we compare it to that? And it's been even this season. They've all been now to 3 tribals because basically all the tribes lost twice with Tuku now. But last season, Tevin went at 10 and it was his second vulnerable tribal council. For me, I wouldn't care about they're not going to have rice, they have to suffer. I'd be like, it's 26 days, but believe me, they're playing. And all of these things give them outs. A whole half of the group sitting on the sidelines for me. I'm like, no, make them earn their, scout style badges, Survivor style, by getting through votes where they're vulnerable. And this is the game, because I do when I'm judging winners as an example, the Tom Westmans and Michelle Fitzgerald, who go to fewer tribals, and for me have less to earn in my metric of strategy. That's a mark against them for me. So I feel that's what I would be doing. As much as there's the monster and make them suffer, and it is unfortunate for what would have been a Rachel, and we can talk about it for Tiana, but then 6 other people who didn't win a challenge are immune. 2 tribes in a 3-tribe configuration are they earn it, but they're immune, and then someone else is in a really constricted group that's difficult. So it's as much as there's it's unlucky for some, it's very, very lucky often for others. And I feel those outs, to me, are the opposite of what Jeff is trying to do by being it's so dangerous and it's so difficult. And I think we've spoken about this before because it's been freaking years. But it stood out to me because I'm don't have them sit on the sidelines when you only have 26 days. Get them freaking playing and voting and scared and running around, right?
Teeny's been drunk as many times as Teeny's been drunk. Teeny's been drunk as many times as been to tribal council. She's been drunk twice.
Hasn't Kyle has only been not safe once at that very first TK one. He's had immunity and he's never gone again. So there was only that one, and that was the first tribal council?
The second tribal, yeah. Well, he won it. Well, he won the immunity last week. People can win immunity. That's fine. And I want to talk. He won this week, even though he was third, and that isn't something I would think I would care about.
I know.
It was very jarring for me.
I didn't like that so much.
I think it's the stats person in me that's he didn't win. People wouldn't even remember that Teeny and Genevieve were the 2 that beat him. It's so uncomfortable for me.
I'd feel like a fraud. I'd be shamed. I'd be like,
would you hand it back? Would you hand it back, Mark?
I'd hand it back. I'd fling it over, give it to Teeny. She's
hang on. Are we talking some sort of one world situation where you go, no, we're going to tribal council. I'm going to tribal council.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I want to be immune. That's fine, but I don't want to wear the necklace. I don't think I should be wearing I don't want the stat. I can be safe in my group. That's fair. But like, I mean, like what? So, and I was trying to think about this, like trying to contrive it a little bit so that the person on the other side can win something. But it's like, do I even want to put more in the game? But it just felt so wrong that even the way Jeff was like, it's over, you're done. It was just like, that was just bad game design, I felt.
It was so strange. It was so weird. And Teeny and Genevieve were just like, oh, cool. Like, no one had to win. Like, it's bizarro worlds. I don't like it.
You should have to win.
You know, that's like where the game, and again, I'm not criticizing the players because I love them all, but the game detracts from like Survivor. Like it's like they've introduced this twist, and all of a sudden, what's his name? Old country boy, Kyle is wearing a necklace, which is a great necklace. I love the necklace. But like you feel weird. It gives you the ick, you know, because you're like, well, that's not right. I mean, like a twist. Like, you know, it just doesn't feel right. It just doesn't feel, something's not right, and it hits you on a deeper level.
Do you think the other thing is with, like, it's only been 13 days, and I was talking about this with Josh as well.
How many times are you going to say that?
I'm going to say it a lot because we were out there a lot longer.
Wait,
Mark.
26 days.
Yes.
What's going on? What is the what is happening?
Have you seen the film Number 13 with Jim Carrey? It's going to be very, it's very that. It's very.
Oh my God.
You're going to start
what
it
code are we being delivered here?
It's like Iron Maiden, you know, like if you listen to Iron Maiden, the number of the beast, 666. It's like if you play it backwards, it's going to be like a satanic verse. Like,
oh my God, 666.
Has anyone played the episode backwards?
I actually have. That's what I did next. No,
of course you have.
Wait, it's all sixes, and six is bad. That is the bad number.
The number of the beast. Yep.
Wait. Oh my God! And every configuration, we have 3 6s. We get it in 3 tribes. We get it in 2 groups, and we have it in 1 group.
I know. We need a numberologist.
Religious people in the States are going to be protesting.
Out, by the way, everyone.
Yeah, I've become a conspiracy theorist so quickly right now. Like I'm just like it's undeniable. Like something's going on.
It's proof.
Hang on, Shannon. You did a 3-person podcast last week, and now you're doing another 3-person podcast.
I'm in on it. I'm secretly in on it. Yeah. Okay. I'm trying to figure my own.
What I was going to say though, 21 days. Do you guys think
26 days?
26 days. But going through this game, I don't think it's long enough to actually get annoyed with people. Like living at tribe.
I disagree.
I think that's one of the reasons why there hasn't been in the new era as many people sort of really getting under each other's skin and really blowing up. It's been very game body.
Last season.
Except for last season. Exactly. Last season was very different. But I think it's something about that flying through the game and people just being able to be like, we'll just get through it. We'll just vote this person out. That's fine. In the old days, people used to really get frustrated with each other. And I think it's just a length thing. I know in Australian Survivor, people still get annoyed at each other.
At what day could you no longer stand to look at Mark? Tell me from like a day perspective.
I could look at Mark every day.
Oh,
that guy.
Straight back at you.
He's a handsome guy. Kelly, on the other hand,
1 minute, 6 minutes. Sorry.
Well, this has gone so off the rails, but I'm reconsidering a lot of.
Hey, I want to tell you, Shannon, that I got some trivia. I did some research. Yeah. Did you know what the tribe name is?
Becca.
Becca.
Yeah.
With a K,
You know what that means?
Bat.
Yeah, that's the bloody theme of this. Like, that's how meta the game is going. It's like, it's okay. Well, that's pretty anticlimactic. There we go. Moving on.
No, I have a fear of bats, so I don't love it.
So
really?
the name for bat in every language? That's
I'm trying to guard against it. No, I'm on Twitter a lot, and someone tweeted it. Someone tweeted that Becca meant bat. That was it. Nothing happens that I don't see. All right, but I mean, I know Bat and Becca now. Those are the 2 types of bats that I know. What other trivia did you? Was that it?
No, there's one more. There's one more.
Good.
So, and I don't want to get political, but next week is the U.S. presidential election.
Yes.
Like, do you know how many times Survivor and the U.S. presidential election campaign has overlapped?
What do you mean, on the same day, or
no. But I mean, like the election has come out whilst it's been on TV.
Now you're making me do math Andy style. I'm sitting there like in the sand. Every 4 years since since
But like,
2000.
have they missed? Like, is Survivor?
Well,
Has it all?
They missed 2020. I remember that because I was watching the
Correct.
election like it was Survivor. I'm like, they just flipped a vote, but it was a state. It was a swing state. It wasn't like Caroline. It was Pennsylvania. Yeah, I'm trying to think. I don't know how many years. Ida, can you do the math?
No, now I'm just
2000.
thinking about Pennsylvania using an immunity idol to stay.
Oh, go and ask some people because we can get into some conspiracy theories from people who might. Is this a sixth time? Is this a sixth time?
1,
That
2,
would be-
3, 4, 5, 6. Oh my god!
Are you kidding me?
I'm getting up and I'm leaving.
Are you
I'm
actually
leaving.
kidding me, Mark?
With an asterisk, because in the year 2000, Al Gore v. George Bush,
Yeah.
it didn't quite overlap, but
Which
the
is a
recount,
long
if you're
story.
The counting was
if
going
the
for so
recount
long.
went to the 12th of December, in December, and then Africa was aired in early 2001. So actually, it's the 5th because of 2020.
No, it's not. That's not.
No.
Well, like it's an asterisk. It's 26 with an asterisk, yeah. But like
Man,
pretty
Don't
much
ruin
every
it.
single time they've it's overlapped except for the first one, but like it was pretty close because Borneo and Africa were released quite close amongst each other. But isn't that strange? Like, isn't that amazing? Like, you think how long has Survivor been around? Freaking Al Gore was running for president. Like, oh my god, that is.
Yeah, that's true. I
to me,
was
that puts
7
me
years
on
old.
edge.
I mean, to be fair, there's only an election every 4 years. It's like having a
I thought
birthday
you
on
were-
a leap year.
Are you sure you were 7 or not 6? When was
That was like my birthday.
you actually 7?
It's really strange that someone
Tell-
offered me free tickets to 6 this week. I think we have to stop. It's worse than the Q stuff. It's really bad.
It's getting worse. Yeah, good.
Is anyone else enjoying this, or what are we even talking about? I had a lot to talk about. All right, let's talk about this. And
Hang on, have we started recording, Shannon? Oh god.
You wouldn't think so. You wouldn't. Okay.
We're actually 26 minutes in, Eden.
No. We actually are, because like with people with ads and stuff, it might not look like that, but we can see the recording number. It's 26 minutes.
This is so
This is
good.
how many. Okay, real question. Real
Back on
important
Shannon.
Survivor.
Come on, get us back on track, buddy.
I'm the host, and it's
I'm
my
enjoying
fault.
this.
So how screwed was Tiana? That's the question. Eden, just answer it. You know, how much? Because I think that's been the big question this week.
I think it is a big question, but there is screwed and then there's screwed, because screwed sometimes implies that there is nothing you could have done to better your situation in the game, and the twist just came in and you're just like hands tied. Okay, well, I'm done then. I think there were things that she could have done. I think there was relationships that she could build. And look, I think she was great, but there were definitely mistakes that she made building up to this tribal council. I think her breakdown in relationship with Gabe, I think the fact that she didn't try and build some better bonds, like with Rachel, she didn't have that really strong tie. And the Caroline of it all, she couldn't convince Caroline. So there was definitely things, if she built better relationships or if she kept Gabe on side. I actually think, do you think if Kyle was not immune, I was under the impression, I think Kyle actually may have been the target.
I don't think so, for the reasons of Kyle's, I think, a good shield. And I also think that possibly at a point in the original Tuku, like right after TK goes, possibly, but it would depend on how much they think they need him for challenges, because clearly he's won 2 immunity challenges, right? So he's very good at the challenges. But that's what the stats say. But I do think now Tiana is more of a pressing issue for them. Like, she's gone out of her way to throw Gabe out repeatedly. In a way that is bad for Gabe and bad for Sue as an ally to Gabe. She knew about the red paint, and I think in her exit was pretty inconsistent about how much she'd moved forward with Sue with that. So it could have been a bit of a ticking time bomb. Like, I do think that she probably, even without Kyle being immune, is the target. But it is unfortunate that with Kyle being immune, you know, when Rachel leaves tribal, 8 of 12 people being immune is going to make it feel pretty constricted. So like, I think within that, with the twist on the twist, like, it's always going to feel like someone got a little bit screwed, and we can kind of, like, I think, talk through the metrics of that. But I do think that with where Tiana was at in Tuku, and the fact that there was a whole Tuku tribe and it was so earned of why she was on the bottom of Tuku, and like the fact that she didn't know the dynamics of her tribe the whole time, like all of that stuff was very earned. So I feel like within the fact that there'll always be a little bit of an asterisk on something like this, she's at the upper, like most extreme end of the spectrum of, but within that, it's as earned as it could possibly be, knowing we'll always kind of look side-eye at how twisty something like this is. What do you think, Ma?
I think that she's pretty unlucky. I think she's super unlucky, and I think screwed is tough. But what I think is unlucky is that you Gabe was at tribal council after Rachel left, and he was like, "Oh, we just go back to how we were thinking back when we were 3 tribes." And I'm like, "No, no, the game has moved on. Tiana's made connections. Like Tiana, boom, and like as soon as it's merged, she's out there talking to. She's in the conversation with Teeny. She's in the conversation." Like building a girls' alliance. She is actually like building new relationships. So I think she had done some really good work in recognition of a position within the tribe. Like she wasn't just like sticking to it. She was throwing Gabe out there. Like I think she stuck her neck out. You know, she really stuck her neck out, throwing Gabe out there, not knowing that one, they were going to get divided into 2 tribes, and then 2, all of the Tuku members would be on the same tribe plus Rachel, and then 3, Rachel was going to be removed at the last second. You know, and so that's one. So I think that like you can't really put the genie back in the bottle once you've merged. You know, you go out there, you know, as someone who's
To be fair, she
been a
did do
little-
it slightly before the merge at the social hour when Tuku could have gone back to tribal council.
That's true, and that's where she like
was
didn't maintain her relationship with Sue. I think that's true,
Yeah.
but her relationship with Caroline was like actually pretty good. And that's what I would get to. Number 2 is that like I don't think that Tiana really stuffed up. I think that it's more around Caroline deciding where she wants to go in this game, and Caroline, like Sue's done, but the way that Caroline structured the vote with I always call him my old boy Kyle, to vote for Tiana, because I really do feel like that was more of a decisive play from Caroline rather than like a stuff up on Tiana's behalf. I think she actually did quite well. So
I don't think those 2 things are like mutually exclusive though, right? Like I think the fact that Caroline wouldn't choose her and the fact that Tiana spent the game thinking that she was more aligned with like Sue and Caroline than someone like Gabe was, like she's making all the decisions with that
But I don't think
incorrect
she
information.
thought she was with Sue. Like I really
I think
felt like
she said
was...
she didn't know that Sue and Gabe were close.
I think the thing is she didn't have that read that Sue, that was obvious that she didn't know how close Gabe and Sue were, because there's
Yes.
no way at that Survivor
Social hour,
hour
Yeah.
she just put that out there in front of Sue.
Oh, how long is an hour?
Like, wow.
Just say. Anyway, not back off track. It's weird.
That
Yes.
that
Talk it
was
up.
terrible. That read on the tribe dynamic at that point was obviously Sue's going to go back and tell Gabe. And unless you're going to take a shot, and unless you know you can take a shot at someone, putting someone's name out there that early is a huge red flag.
Yeah.
I just love the Caro and Tiana conversation was absolutely fantastic. It's one of my favorite conversations in this season so far. It was that perfect breakdown of 2 people seeing the game so differently, and I loved how it was this is purely brainstorming, guys. This is purely brainstorming. I love that concept that you can just
give
go
yourself
into a
the
conversation.
space to give yourself
I
the
thought that
space,
was perfect that Caro did that. This has really bumped Caro up in my books as well. This one conversation, the fact that Tiana sees the game like, if we come back as a strong unit, we're going to be targeted, we're going to be this, and she's also emotionally, she wants to get rid of Gabe because she's already thrown his name out there. So this is what she wants. And then Caro's like, no, I need my shields. Gabe's my shield. And the fact that Caro couldn't be swayed, Tiana didn't have the social capital, the skills to really sway Caro at that point. And then Caro just convinced her to stick to the plan. And I just thought Caro just went so high in my books. To me, I wasn't really looking at it, but after what she sort of put together, I'm really impressed with how she broke that down.
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely.
And I think both things are valid.
Yeah. Caroline definitely is playing like a particular sort of game. She's executing it well so far, but I do have concerns for Caroline, and I think like, but where we come down to the breakdown of the vote, particularly in front of like half of the other tribe,
that's interesting that you say that, because I think like for Tiana, like in terms of like her, being screwed, I feel like there's, a lot of nuance that's been given. Like as an example, if Sol feels better about Tiana than Rachel, then he doesn't, give the advantage. And like Heidi chose not to help Matt last time. And like if Heidi had a similar thing and had chosen to help Matt, and their relationship coming from Soka together would have been valid, but then like Jam Jam probably goes, like it was valid for Tiana that she was not on the bottom. It was a good configuration for her in terms of that Rachel was there, but she was second, and that is earned. That's where Jam Jam was, and she loses that in a way that is like unforeseeable. It's not like they like, just like go for the shot in the dark, don't have another option, take the risk, it hits, and then like, what are you going to do? Like this was like, it was on another beach, and it was 100%. It wasn't, the 16%. So I think that is tough, and I think it's earned. But at the same time, I feel like the fact that she's at the bottom of the tribe in itself is earned. The fact that like Sol is not giving it to her, or is choosing to help Rachel, knowing it might doom Tiana. Like that on the sideline, they're like, I think it'll be Tiana. So they know they're fine with dooming her. I think parts of that are earned. And I also think the fact that she can't get her way. Like even when she wasn't going to go, Rachel was going to go, and that's not what she even wanted, because she didn't have the power in that tribe, and she put out Gabe's name with the wrong information, and then inconsistently had to go against it because she couldn't get it done. And I think that kind of shows like the issues in her game. Like I think the fact that she was on the bottom of the tribe was incredibly earned, and the fact that this tribe happened to be in this configuration was incredibly contrived and convoluted. But once we've gotten there, there's a reason it's her, and it would never be someone like Caroline, and it's based on the work that they've done. But I feel like you disagree, Mark, because you are shaking your head.
It's just like I agree, but I also just think that it's like the way it panned out is like like when you have like a decision tree. It's like if left, if yes, then left, if no, then, and then it's like fucking like, sorry, like Tiana like hit every single unlucky outcome in the breakdown, like for example, did Sol really prefer Rachel over Tiana, or was it just more like, hey, let's just like remove the Garda person and let these 5 Tukus duke it out? Like it may not have been a personal thing towards Tiana.
I don't know if it's necessarily personal, but I think if he's that close with Tiana, then
I know, but it's like
then that's taking precedence. But then and that is tough. Yeah.
You know how it was also anonymous what Sol could do. No one else knew about it. And I think that set it up to be given to Rachel. Because if everyone knew that Sol had to give it to someone, I think I think you second guess giving it to Rachel at that point. But it's just 99% of the time, if no one knows what you're doing in that configuration, you're giving it to Rachel. You're definitely giving it to Rachel, because that puts the cat amongst the pigeons.
Like,
an eagle.
Yeah.
6 eagles,
I think that's what it feels like. It's like when you do a twist like this, like if you have a big and we'll talk about it, like there was so many strategic possibilities. Like we don't know how the power structures will play out. It's kind of looking like it might be against Tuku next week, but like the possibilities of relationships were endless. Whereas now it breaks it down to like these kind of binary decisions. It was going to be like Rachel, or we're going to turn on each other. And then once Rachel goes, it's like Gabe or Tiana. Like it's these two things. And that is very constrictive for someone like Tiana, especially when the other person on the bottom is immune, even though they didn't make him third in a challenge, and I mean, like earn that immunity over her, to be fair, but like incredibly constricted. And I think another thing that goes a little bit missing, especially for someone like more like Rachel even, but like, even looking at like someone like, well, like even if it had been a Tuku tribal council, because this was like, okay, it was kind of like a swap, like they merge and then swap again. But it's not, because I think if you were to swap, then there are medium to long-term dynamics you have to think about. For someone like Rachel, if they swap and they think we're going to be in this configuration for a certain amount of time, they're thinking they're going to merge at a point. So you already have to think about what they're thinking about. What if we're a minority of Garda? Like maybe we have to, look at that anyway for a possible merge at a point, depending on how much we win or when we merge. But we also have to think, what if we lose? And then we don't want to necessarily take out someone like a Rachel, because then what are we going to do next time? We might need her as a swing next time. So you can then use that as leverage. There's just so little leverage someone can use when it's like, you're in this configuration for one vote, and there's little to think about, and it's very binary. I think it's bad from a TV perspective, and I do think this was like the low light of a fun season for me. And that 10 minutes of tribal council knowing that Rachel was going to get up when she's like having to play the production game and being like, I hope I'm in with the plan. And I was
milking it like
3 times this, please. Like, painful, like not good TV either, but like also from a game perspective and with that TV, just I think very, very limited. Yeah.
You know what's also interesting about Rachel, which I haven't heard being discussed, is I think she was obviously like awesome to be safe and get yourself out of that situation. But she didn't get to witness the tribal council. Like she went back to camp. And so she didn't get to actually No.
Oh,
But she didn't
no.
get like. I would have loved. If that was me, I would have wanted to have gone to the jury and be like, well, can I just sit on the jury now and like observe this? So like when she goes back to camp, she's there. Maybe she's hunting for idols. I don't know. But then everyone's going to come back, and then she has to hear like watching that scramble gave the people on the jury lots of information that I think is really, really important. They would have seen how Gabe operated. They would have seen how Sue operated. They would have seen Caroline's sort of like crybaby face at the end. And then like they're all going to come back and they'll all tell Rachel like, oh, by the way, this happened. And they can kind of like twist things. And then, like there's so Rachel doesn't get that truth. So I think that's actually going to be more difficult for Rachel in terms of like trying to assess the tribal dynamics, because who's she going to rely on? Is she going to rely on Sam and Sierra to tell her the truth?
And that's the really interesting point, because where does Rachel go now? Like,
Yeah.
I think
is
Rachel's
the next?
okay.
I but who does she talk to? Who does she build with? I think the go is Teeny. I think
Teeny,
Teeny
yeah.
is there to be that connective tissue. Because obviously the old Gutter tribe, they threw her under a bus. They like broke up her alliance and everything like that. But I think Teeny's the way in for Rach. And I think if she can find something there and start building off that, and then I think that's going to be really good. Because remember that the Andy of it all, like Andy and Rachel, Andy was giving Rachel everything at the very start of the game that we've totally forgotten about. And Rachel was like, oh, this guy,
Yeah.
look at me with puppy dog eyes
Wakes
and
me
everything like
up.
that. And she totally,
Which is honestly valid. It is
yeah,
not
that's why you can never actively throw people away like that, because you never know what's going to happen later on the game, and that could hurt her later on if Andy and Jen are building what I think they're building, because it was very deliberate that they showed them having a little conversation. So there's going to be something there coming out, and I think that's a really interesting dynamic between Andy and Jen.
They're all going to be on the jury voting for him or not voting for him to win, I think. Like for Andy. Like that's the revenge arc that's definitely happening.
But also Rachel didn't have the chance to bond. Like imagine if Rachel witnessed what happened, then she can be like, oh, Kyle, like Kyle maybe didn't seem to be, like she missed that information, and so she doesn't get that leverage, that hook to engage with the Tuku people who remain. So I wish that Rachel had the chance to sit and watch that, because I think unless she gets, I mean she's off skating.
Yeah, she's happy. She's like, there's like a Rachel shaped hole in the door. Like she's like, don't worry about it. I don't want to even be near what happens. But I mean, look, I think the first thing Rachel needs to do is maybe try find like the masked stranger who helped her, who with the confused faces is her, her guardian angel. But I do think, and this is what I want to talk about with what you're talking about, the information that the other side get in this scramble. Who was really screwed? Caroline, I think, was really screwed. Yeah. And actually Tuku in general, to be honest, but like particularly Caroline, because it was her move. It was very, very good for Caroline. As you're saying, Eden, super impressed with Caroline this episode, because I don't think it was smart for anyone else on Tuku to stay strong. I think Gabe and Sue, all the logic that Gabe was giving to Rachel about like, I will be the target when we go back for 5 is true. Like, that's why you should get rid of someone like Tiana, have the fracture, also the fact, or be less of a number as well. The fact that, you will be the target, the fact that she's been throwing your name out, bad for Gabe and Sue. Tiana and Carl know, that Gabe has been an issue for them. There's this huge divide, the threat issue. They're trying, but they can't get it done. So they're either not trying to or they can't. Caroline is the one person who will benefit from the Tuku group that she's in the middle of, that she has shield of moving forward. It's only right for her. And I think she convinces or is part of everyone else to their detriment working for her. Super impressed with it. Love the way she goes about it. But now, what has happened? She got her way. They were all going to vote out Rachel to their detriment, I think. And then now Women's Alliance knows she was going to vote out Rachel, let alone then have to vote out Tiana. No one could act as well as Tuku acted, when Rachel leaves and they're all scrambling. Clearly Rachel was going home, so they know that they were going to stay strong. They know that they were going to vote out Rachel. She then has to vote out Tiana. She had a good plan, and she was even cutting off a social option in Rachel. Who she's like, I don't really love, I like her so much that she has to go, she's that good. I think in a social game, build bonds like that. But it also made sense, and it made sense to give that to Tiana at least, even though she's also saying it to us in confessional. But it makes sense, I think, to take out Rachel to stay strong as Tuku. She was doing the best thing for her. She managed it. She got it done. And now she's going back with the threat level of Tuku being all strong together, with the Women's Alliance as difficulties maybe in tatters, that relationship with Rachel's gone, but she's still in the game. Like, I think for Caroline, as well as she played, the twist, that wasn't great for her. Like that screwed her, I think, maybe more than anyone. Thoughts on that?
I'm not quite as down on Caro. I'm not quite as down as
No,
Caro.
I love her. I just think like she did such good work. She deserves more
you're
for
just
it.
saying her position. You think this wasn't great with her. I still think she's got her shields in the game. I think definitely people are coming for Gabe and possibly Kyle before her, and I think that gives her enough time to start building connect. I think Caro understands that the way you win New Era Survivor is you sit under the radar, you pop up every now and again, you build tight relationships with people. All you have to do is get your fingerprints on a few little things that you can come back to, but you don't put your head up for long. You don't be the face of a move or anything like that. I think she understands that, and I think she'll be able to maneuver that moving forward.
I disagree. I disagree.
Great, let's get into
it.
This is why Eden couldn't stand to look at you 27 days in. This is what he said.
No. Like, and it's like it's a subtle difference. I agree. About.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying about Caroline, and I think that we're looking at Caroline through what we're being shown, but I think Caroline is always going like a bit of a meta thing here. I think, and it's the name may have some overlap. I think that Caroline may suffer from an ability to articulate her game if she gets to the end and if she plays this sort of game. And I think that this was a beautiful moment for her to vote out Gabe and still be able to like sink back down and you've got so many people out there. Are they really going to be targeting Caroline for voting out Gabe? Probably not, but I do think that like by keeping Gabe in the game, I don't even think that Gabe is who's working with Gabe. Seriously, like Gabe is no one in Tuku really wants to work with him. He hasn't seen. We haven't really seen
Sue.
I mean, okay, Sue.
Sue. That's the crux of it. Sue is this is the biggest thing for me.
And Sue's got an idol. Sue's got an idol as well.
I know, but like, yeah, okay, true. But I forgot about that. But like, I just would have thought. But I just think that this was a beautiful moment. I think this is a chance for Caroline to put herself forward a little bit and then go back to her relationship building that she was doing with Teeny and Tiana, because Gabe and I don't really see that Gabe is treating her with respect. Gabe is not listening to her. Gabe is not. He is out for, and the way that Gabe was holding himself in that tribal council, he was like storming around, and you could see the way that he was doing it. And the best part, the reason I think this is important is because Teeny and Genevieve and Sol on the jury side, they're not on the jury, but you know what I mean. They were like all being like, look at the emotion that that Caroline is putting into this. Isn't this hard? They were like, they had never experienced a live tribal council like this. So they were getting information being like, holy moly, like if I end up in that situation, I need people that I can trust. And I think that they can trust Caroline more than they can trust Gabe. Gabe just gave off like total individual player vibe. So I feel like Caroline, I know it's a bit risky, but I feel like Caroline had the chance to be a little bit flashy, a little bit bold, and then go back and like you need the resume points. I'm a bit concerned that Caroline might get lost in the numbers. She might get voted out, and she may not be able to like have something claimable. And I think this at a 6-person tribal down to 5, I think this is a chance to do it and then go back to she's pretty much safe. I feel like she had and like, you know, like I know I get keeping Gabe as like a shield is an idea, but I don't think that, I think she would have been all right. Kyle's 2 immunities with an asterisk. You know, I think there are other options there. So yeah.
Yeah,
I think the girls thing going was good. So yeah, I wish that Caroline took the shot.
Yeah, you agree, but you just thought that this was an opportunity to have that pop up and then go back down.
Yep, with Tiana. Yep. Tiana loves her. Tiana like is absolutely like coming to her every time. Tiana consulted her. She's listening to her. The way that Caroline manipulated Tiana was not manipulated, but it was like she pitched in a way that made sense to Tiana, and Tiana was like, not my ideal situation. But then Caroline at the end of the day can just be like, like I was a deciding vote. You know what I mean? Like I just think that it was a chance for Caroline to have a moment where in this broader meta game of Survivor, I think people like Caroline often aren't credited for subtle moves, and I think that this is a chance that she had that she missed.
I think that's a really fantastic point, and I have so many thoughts around it. I do think for someone in Caroline's demographic, being like maybe a quieter woman, it is hard, and you need like these concrete things to really show that you played like a loud game that people care about. I mean, they're talking about big moves in this tribal council, and I think right before I fell asleep in the 10 minutes they gave me of this, she did say something about smart big moves, and people don't want that. People want big flashy moves.
I think there's still plenty of time. I think there's still plenty of time in the game.
But I do think, and we'll talk about it with Soul, that it is a short game, and I think like if you see a move, you kind of in time should take it, and that's Mark's point. And I'm not saying I agree with it, but I think it is a really valid counterpoint. And I think what else is a really valid counterpoint is what you said about like she did have the control in her relationship with Tiana. Tiana's a difficult ally too, to be honest. I mean, she's out there throwing names, like no one agreed on that, and Gabe has his issues as an ally. For me, I would go with Gabe for Sue. And Sue has her issues as an ally too, okay? That's been obvious as well. But and I don't know that she has as much of the power in that group, but I do think her relationship with Sue is the most pivotal thing, and that's why I would go with Gabe. So I think that the decisions she made in the order, I would make them. I would vote out Rachel first. I think that's 100% correct. At the point where push comes to shove and the twist happens, I would stick with Sue, which is Gabe, and vote out Tiana. But I do have concerns, not so much about like the way that Gabe talks about them, like they're like his pawns or whatever. I'm like, yeah, you talk how you talk, and Caroline has all the power. Like you can talk how you want, but that's what, she's controlling things. Like she had your fate in her hands tonight. The issue is, in Tiana's exit interview, I was really concerned about this. Tiana kept referring...
Don't trust exits.
No. She's not a juror.
Not canon. But
if this is the perception, it's even worse if it's not canon. It's even worse if it's being validated by something that happens in the future, because the way she keeps referring to them is as injured birds that keep running back to Gabe, and Gabe can do it. She gave the power to Gabe very much in her perception. And that's how other people are looking at it, or will look at it in the future. Yeah. That really concerns me, because I don't agree with it. I don't even believe that's true. I'm like, Gabe, you can wink at the camera all you want while Rachel's not buying what you're selling. Like, you can walk the walk, but for me, it should have the dodo music. I don't agree that that's the structure of things. But if other people see it that way, possibly due to the way we view things in this patriarchal society, perception is reality. And I am concerned about that. In saying that, I still think there's time. I still think I love the way she's working. I still keep my better allies, my real group. I know that it's both. It's Schrodinger's group at that point, where she can make a call. But I think that's been a group. I think Sue is her number one. I would go in that direction. I was giving her 3 chizzy points before she made the decision, just for being in the position and being as well positioned and as safe as she was. I still agree with it, but I think it's a very interesting counterpoint. And and those are a couple of concerns. And I think you voiced that really well, Mark.
Yeah, I think when you merge, you need to. I think Caroline was doing. This is why I'm angry at this twist, because Caroline was doing a great job in building new relationships, and I think that she was onto something with Tiana, and Tiana is probably going to be voted off before Caroline. And I think then she can, take the hero moment, stab Gabe in the back, and make him look like a fool. Like that would be awesome. Like the emotion of that is endearing, it's so endearing to have Gabe prance around, because the way, seriously, rewatch it. I love you, Gabe, but you were prancing around like the way he was doing it. It was so obvious. And then for those other people just to see that, turn it into a funny little story, being like, oh, Gabe, thought he was hot shit. Turns out he wasn't, you know what I mean? And then she can go back to Rachel, and she can build something with Rachel and say, Gabe was blowing smoke up your bum, I don't know. But it's not Carol. It's not who Caroline is, maybe. And also, these things are coming at you pretty fast in terms of that trouble.
I think a time pressure as well, not having that time to think about this. Rachel got the advantage 20 minutes before, and she told Tiana and stuff like that, but that's still
16
such a
to 20
crunch.
minutes.
Yeah.
Probably was.
That is such a time crunch to be like, okay, this is what actually we're going to do now.
Oh, absolutely.
And to be forced in that position when you are thinking one way and have to pivot to another is a big ask. But time will tell, team.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does seem like that's probably what she was going to do. And she's fully the swing vote. Carl is actively trying to get Caroline across the line. across to Carolina, I guess. And that's a pun for you, Mark. See, I am a hypocrite. And it wasn't even.
I'm like, oh, boo! Shannon made a pun.
It was
Boo.
bad. It was good.
Who
I think she would have done it anyway, but I mean, look, that speaks to the TV element of like, let's really catch them off their feet. And then we've spoken about it so many times. What do? They will cling to the without making the big moves more, because this is the big move. This is the big scary thing. Let me cling to what I know, rather than having the time to process and weigh up what we've just spent, 20 something minutes discussing, probably, and it's an interesting decision. And I'm sure she's thought about it before, but she never thought she was going back to this Tuku group where they merge. And even in this situation, she's already made a decision on Rachel Tuku. That's the binary she's been given, and she can't sit with it in now and the new information she has of a possible women's alliance. So I still think that I would go with what she did, but yeah, I mean, like, definitely from a TV and game design perspective, like, yeah, why wouldn't you let her sit through it? And maybe then she flips, and that's more exciting, right? So yeah, it just doesn't make sense. But I do think, I will say, for the women's alliance, if, like, to me, then she's going all in on the women's alliance. She votes out Gabe, then that's what we're doing. I think she tried to go all in on like Tuku with shields. I think that was good. And this was like a bit of a hybrid of like, maybe you can fall back on a women's thing. Plus you have the shield, plus you have like your group of Tuku that you've chosen, that I still think was the better option. Because I just think the women's alliance, the reason it can't work is because, like, every man is connected to a woman that the woman will not want to give that man up. Like, even Andy now has Genevieve. Like, Sierra won't want to give up Sam. What all 7 women who are bonded on this like valid thing of being women in the game, and that is very valid, but like, what can they agree on? Like, Sue won't agree on Gabe, Caroline wouldn't agree on Gabe. Well, when Tiana was there, she wouldn't agree on Carl, who, to be fair, might be a good one next time now. But like, that's why I find the women's thing really hard. And even the Black Widow Brigade like had the issues. They had to leave Amanda out of the Aussie vote. Like, it's very hard to get 7 people who have all these other relationships, often with half of the people that are playing, which is the men, to agree on it. And I think that's a really tough thing to put all your eggs in that basket. Not eggs.
As a straight white man, what do you think, Eden?
I think, as this white male, I think the women's alliance, and Teeny said it best, it's a myth. It's mythical. It's bigger. It's basically, the concept is bigger than the reality of it. And that's why I don't think it can ever work, because it's not built on relationship building and who's connected with who. It is just this idea that, oh, we're just all going to work together, and we're not going to take into account any other relationships that anyone else has. And it has to rely on everyone agreeing to go all in on that concept and burn every other relationship they've built in the entire game. Unless we're going back to a time where we have all women tribes as all men tribes and things like that, you're always going to have these cross wires. And that's why I don't think it's ever actually a reality. I just don't think it is.
Well, that's what they left out the One World Alliance that there's like hasn't been done since Black Widow Red, but that was their tribe. How many tribal alliances have made it to the end? That was an all women's tribe. I think that, like, obviously bonding over being women is really valid. Like, that is like a similarity of like being women in the game that is a true connective, like, genuine like, and we see this with like cultural alliance as well. And I think all of that is valid. If it's something that's like really key to your identity, especially in a way that like often has gone negatively for you and you need to like push against something, I think that's really something to bond over, but it doesn't take into account how difficult it is, then how murky that, like, that you then other relationships will get severed with this being like the number one thing. And I just don't think that there's a man for all of them to agree on. There's men for some of them to agree on, but I don't see how all of the 7 women that were in the game, even if they'd gone to a 12 person here, like, who would have been given up? And I can't see the name for me.
But come on. Like, I agree, Shannon, that it is a valid thing to bond over. And if you actually go think about it, when it was floated, it was Teeny saying basically, hey, we know that this is the last, like, if we get through tonight or the next vote, we're all on the jury, And I think it was more around that. I think it was more around, if we send a guy home tonight, like, there's how many of them are on the beach. You're trying to build connections with all these random people. You probably can't even remember half of their names. Like Sue.
Which one was Sue?
She doesn't play pickleball. Anyway, like, the one who doesn't play pickleball. Yeah, but
everyone else, it's the fastest growing sport in America.
Tyson. I mean,
I'm a season behind on Shrinking, and that was a line from Shrinking. So
okay.
But pickleball is a
know.
huge thing in America, and so everyone Sue's the one who doesn't play. They're asking her that because isn't it like an old person sport? Like they played it on the Golden Bachelor, but she's like, I'm only 45. Okay.
Well, it's smaller. Well,
I'm not gonna play
mafia
pickleball.
territory.
She probably
she's,
does play pickleball, by the way, and is lying about it based on everything
Yeah.
she's said so far. I'm sure.
Hello,
that's what it is.
fellow teenager. Sue comes in with a wing game
Who don't
controller.
play pickleball.
Her yo-yo. But you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that they were saying like we're going to go to the end like the Black Widow Brigade or whatever. I think it's more like, can we just get everyone to the jury? And that's a thing. I do think it's a thing. Like when you get to the jury, it's just like,
sorry,
oh,
Eden.
you
Mention
can
the
breathe.
jury.
Like I'm the only person who's never made the jury.
You can breathe. It just gives you breathing space. And I think it was a really good play from Teeny to just kind of float it in that way. It was like, you know what? Like all we need to do is just get to one. They could have voted out Gabe. Like Tiana was throwing out Gabe. Like Caroline, you know, like maybe Sue wasn't in that conversation. I couldn't see. So I do think that it was like not like we're going to the end together. It's more just like, let's just get through this vote and see where we end up without them knowing that the bloody production is going to like mess with their gameplay, which is again why I'm like applauding the players trying to build relationships, trying to figure things out, trying to like float. Yeah, why not? Why not talk about a women's alliance? It's cool. It's so cool.
It would have been a really interesting vote. It would have been a really
I don't know what
vote,
would have happened, and we'll never know. But I will say, I think the odds of all 7 women voting out a man in this vote, exactly. Some women might have worked with some of their male allies to vote out a man, but a women's alliance like that, there's not a name for it to work like that. Like it has to be groups that make more sense together than that. And I can't see who acquiesces to give up to make the sacrifice.
So if they're all
Carl
playing for individual immunity,
Tiana wouldn't have wanted Carl to go. Now Carl
they were tight.
Sue doesn't count. She was playing like she was practicing.
Caroline wouldn't give up Gabe, and Sue is there. Mark, Sue is playing. Not pickleball, but she's playing Survivor.
I like Sue.
She's red hand and everything.
Yeah, so I don't know how. I think it's a really difficult task, and then it always fails. That's another reason I know it wouldn't have worked, because it never does. I've always said it. If they talk about a women's alliance in the first act, a woman will go home in the third act. It's Chekhov's women's alliance. It happens every single time. So I know for a fact that a woman would have gone home regardless. Okay, it's just the way the cookie crumbles. So,
but you know, like it's like Survivor lore. It's like, why would you go through a whole season as a super fan and not like, hey, should we do this? And you're like
throw it out there. Just for the reference. Just for the reference.
Yeah,
There was a secret scene about Gabe rallying the men to be like, the women are going to do something. And I'm like, you are so lucky this was a secret scene. People find it. People work out how to watch the secret scenes, which is incredibly difficult to do. And I don't even know how people are doing it. You have to use the back channels. At this point, you need a VPN. A lot's going on. For me, I do. But if people find what Gabe was doing, and if that hits Twitter, it's going to be worse.
Gabe probably posted it.
There was some Twitter drama with the cast today, and I was like, this wouldn't even crack the least dramatic day of 46. Like, come back when you're actually.
Oh no, it's not on. Like, it's not on.
You know, like turning your account off and like logging out for good, and then logging back on immediately. Like that's what I. Anyway, I don't know where I went. Who should we talk about now? I am the host of this. I have things we need to talk about. Oh, this is a little thing, and then I move on. Just on this last thing, I do want to talk about Sol. Just on Tiana and Gabe, I tweeted this. I just wanted to say both of them should have played their shot in the dark. If they thought there was any chance they could go.
I was going to say, I cannot believe Tiana didn't play a shot in the dark.
Tiana thought there was no chance she was going. Like she thinks it's a 4-1. That's another thing there as well. Like that's the blind side. And to be fair, Gabe is right. But even in being in the 50-50, like they're sitting on the sidelines in like the jury bench saying it's Tiana or Gabe. And yeah, just like there's a little bit of a loophole because obviously if you are a numbers loophole, if you're 1 to 4 down as Tiana goes home, or even 2 to 3 if Carl's with her, then you're out. You need to play your shot in the dark. Your vote doesn't matter. And if you're 4 to 1, obviously your vote doesn't matter. If you're even winning, best to just be cautious. But if you're 3 to 2, then that's still okay. They don't need your vote. Because on the 2 to 2 revote, you don't revote anyway. So your non-vote is cancelled out in the revote. And then your side on the 3 to 2 will win 2 to 1. And I even think that if you go to Caroline, your allies who are really swings, and I'm like, I'm just really scared. I'm just going to play my shot in dark just in case. I don't know what's going on. This is last minute. We're all scrambling. Then maybe Caroline or someone is like, ooh, don't want that. Like, I don't need another shot not to hit in this very twisty day, and possibly it even pushes people. So just wanted to say that.
What did you think about Rachel using the block of? I know you'd never do it.
Yeah,
'cause
let's
you
talk
just
about
wanna save
Rachel.
yourself.
That's what I
But
was.
Rachel
that's what I was
using the
saying.
block of vote,
I like Rachel.
to be able to, and look, again, you'd never do this in this situation. You'd go like, I'm just going to be safe. I'm just going to go home.
Well,
But
let's
you
just
could,
speculate about it anyway.
but you could theoretically. I was thinking about this. So you could theoretically like block one of the votes, still vote with Tiana and Kyle, and then you have your three there. I think the trick with that is you block Caro's vote, because if you block Gabe's vote, Gabe's been looking for idols. You don't know what's happening there. That's probably a red flag. Either Sue plays her idol for Gabe at that point, and freaks out. Oh, something's happening here. So you play it for
Forgetting
Caro
about that
because
idol.
Gabe has already told you that Caro is the vote
Oh,
previously. So by blocking Caro's vote, Gabe probably thinks you're in, going like, oh, well, she's doing what I've told her to do. That's great. No suspicion of using an idol or anything like that. You go, yep, this is cool. And then you three just vote Gabe out.
Oh,
Yeah, well,
but-
that's interesting. Because he had given her the decoy.
Yes, and then you're
I
playing
thought
into
that,
that. Yeah.
I thought Caroline was
but she
kind of
could
like
still add.
a really, really good name because like Sue's too emotional. Like if it ever gets back to Sue, I feel like she would hate that,
yeah.
you know. And then Tiana's too real. Like Tiana actually is the target that you're then giving to Rachel of like, well, that's like a real crack that you're giving her. Whereas Caroline is so logical. She's the one we know benefits most from Tuku staying together, from Rachel not playing a shot in the dark that might hit. So I feel like you could go to Caroline, as Sam might have, you know, gone to Andy, and we can talk about that and how he should have, and be like, this is why you're the name. And she'd be like, that makes sense. So I thought, but the best he could give her was a tie, which was implausible, I think. So
like,
yeah.
Oh my god, Gabe is
when
ridiculous. That was like fingernails on the blackboard. I was like, oh, Tiana did it so well. Tiana's conversation with Rachel. Rachel walked away being
well, Tiana's was
Tiana
true,
is
and
telling
Gabe
the
was
truth.
lying and like winking
I know,
over her
but,
shoulder.
but like Rachel was so obvious to Rachel. It was like, like.
Did you know it was almost like Gabe hadn't thought that it was going to go to Rocks, because then she's like, then you go to, and he was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'll go to Rocks.
Yeah, I mean, this between me and you,
Don't
Rachel, this situation is never happening. So like, I'll go to Fake Rocks. Like, I'd go to Fake Rocks tomorrow. Yeah, it was unfortunate because Caroline, and like you could never say like, yes, Sue will vote with us. And you wouldn't say Tiana would vote for, like this. Can I just say to Caroline's power? While she is she's the best person to throw out because she's like logical enough that and implausible enough that she would handle it well and it would actually fracture Tuku. But she's so well insulated that you can't even put out a fake plan where she might be the decoy, because there aren't enough people who would do that, because everyone wants to work with Caroline. So that is impressive from Caroline. Yeah, in terms of using the vote block, I like that they gave Rachel the choice, because choices are good.
Yeah.
I like that the choice was between like agency and protection. But then I also think safety without power is so obvious and very powerful. And like she was so badly screwed, and then like it was so hugely reversed. It was just like, you know, whiplash from all of that. But yeah, I think like with the vote block, there is still the chance that the idol is played on Gabe. You know, there's still, we don't know who has idols, or maybe Gabe has his own idol and it's just like, screw all of this, you know, always possible. I'd be out of there so fast. Again, it would be Rachel.
This is the new era. Also, like, you don't know, like, you're sitting there being like, this is the craziest number of twists that we've just gone through.
Almost 6.
What are the other twists that could possibly be happening? You're like, is like Sol gonna sit in Jeff's seat and like narrate the rest of this tribal council? Like, you know what I mean? You're like, just get me out. You don't know.
Block of vote as well. If the block of vote goes to anyone else in there, they just use that on Rachel, and then she can't use a shot in the dark.
Yeah. If it was like 4 Tukus, Rachel and Sol, and instead it's you know, Sue who finds it on the other side and sends it, then yeah, she just blocks the vote and then she can't play a shot in the dark. It could have been suppressive. Like I think that's going missing a little bit in that as well, because of the way that it shook out. It is, you know, more likely that if these groups are kind of coalescing in what will be kind of, well, that is unlikely anyway, but like if these groups are coalescing in what will be like oppositional forces, which it looks like they will help the person on the bottom. But yeah, in a world where he is like, I do think actually I want to be with Tuku, and then he just gives it to them and they just play it on Rachel and she can't even play a shot in the dark. And it's the most depressing episode in Survivor history. Like it is just not fun at all for anyone. So kind of lucky that it didn't go that way. But yeah, I think like you're not taking a chance with the vote block. I do think that Tiana is I think Tiana and Carl are flipping at the point where she's blocked one of the other votes. I think that Tiana seemed to want to do it, but the idol would still be very scary for me. What else about Rachel? Mark? What are you thinking about? We talked a little bit about her position, but yeah.
I really like Rachel. She's got I think she's got a Thai tattoo on her back as a Thai speaker, and I've been trying to zoom in and read it, but I can't
Why
get
are you zooming in on Rachel's back? Like it's that's just walking in and being like, "What are you doing? What are you zooming in?"
Doing my Thai language training. Thank you very much. So,
yeah.
So if you're listening, Rachel, let us know. So I'm intrigued by her that I also think that she had a great, her and Caroline, to me, the way that they see each other is quite interesting to me, that Caroline sees Rachel as a threat, and so I do think they have that similar sort of gameplay. I do think that Rachel has done amazing at puzzles, and US Survivors want to do puzzles, so she could dig herself out of a hole via puzzles. But I think that she is a very likable player, and like I think she's pretty good at just like building bonds. So yeah, big Rachel fan. Wish she got the rice. I think that was like hilarious. Like I think that's what I'm getting at in terms of like having fun. I think that like new era people.
Rule.
Yeah.
Mike Wright, yeah.
I think it's very endearing, and I think that Rachel is finding ways to be endearing to people. I think I really hope she does well. But yeah, I'm just obsessed with the Thai tattoos. So yeah, I get obsessed with tattoos in general. So yeah.
What do you think, Eden, of Rachel right now?
I think Rachel getting sort of through this one, I think it's going to give her the ability to hide a little bit. I think she's going to drop back down under the radar. I think she needs to get in with Teeny. I think she's super smart. I think her puzzle, we've seen her knock out so many puzzles in this game so far. So I think that's going to be his superpower. And the fact that she's not, that her relationship with Andy is going to be the fulcrum point moving forward, because Andy has now made connections with Sol and with Jen. He looks like he wants to go scorched earth on Sam and Sierra. So Rachel could obviously get on board with that, but her relationship with Andy is so fractured anyway. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be really hard. And I don't think honestly, this is the start of Andy's like supervillain origin story. I think Andy's going to pull apart so many people's games moving forward. I think it's going to be such a great arc. Yeah,
they will rue the day they voted out John Lovett, I think.
Oh
dude, I think so. Yeah.
The thing with Andy though is I think that I cannot wait to talk about Andy. But Andy believes that he had the upper hand over Rachel. Well, he did when they voted off Annika, right? Rest in peace, Annika. I love you. But so I think that Andy will see Rachel as. I don't think that'll block Andy from working with Rachel, because I think that Andy will see himself as giving an olive branch to Rachel should Rachel approach him. And I think that Rachel has the EQ to understand that Andy thinks that he's above her, and so she can flatter him and easily integrate herself with a group that is potentially taking a hit on Sierra and Sam. Whereas Andy's perspective with respect to Sam and Sierra will be very different. And so like he'll be going scorched earth on Sam and Sierra, but not so much Annika, because he's already had the greatest Rachel, sorry. Oh, well, brain. He's always got like he that was the greatest moment in the game for him so far, was voting off Annika. So I think so I think that publicly saying that. So I think that he will see Rachel from a different perspective, which is good for Rachel, because I think she's smart enough to maneuver around that.
And I think sorry, Sin, I was just going to say Andy's understanding of like where Sam and Sierra are, and I think there's been a few levels in it, but I just got to give a shout out in terms of the conversation, the scoop up conversation that they had to do, that Sol and Jen did so well, that Sam and Sierra didn't. We obviously didn't see it, but didn't seem like they did. Oh my God, for Sol to be having that conversation and go from being the one that voted him to then being in alliance with him by the end of it is amazing. And the key to it is you're telling something that Andy already has at the back of his mind, because he's obviously fearful of people of being picked last and not being in the center of things. He was under the impression that him and Sam were the 1-2 and that Sierra was going to be the one that they'd get rid of. And it became very evident with the schoolyard pick. I'm sure you saw like Andy being picked. Like Sierra didn't even pick it. Sierra picked Sue over Andy.
Did she? I didn't know
Andy
that.
did say that he has been bad at challenges. Like he knows that.
He was first out again. Yeah,
I know. And this one. But in saying that, and then when Sol was giving him that information, even though it was sort of Sue that sort of put it out there, he just leapt onto it because he knew in the back of his heart, it was just confirming so many things for him and giving him the ability now to sort of come back on Sam and Sierra. I think, Andy's going to be a really fun moving forward. And for him to build a relationship with not only Sol, but also Jen, chef's kiss.
Yeah.
It's going to be really good.
Yeah, I have thoughts on Rachel and Andy. For Rachel, I'm impressed that they were also worried about her. Sam and Sierra. Sam especially was like, oh my God, I hope she's okay. I was like, oh, I thought she was like really at the bottom for you. Like we haven't seen really how that relationship with God and her has progressed, and seemingly really well. Like I was really impressed by how they were all sitting there being like, hope Rachel doesn't go. And the interesting thing, and we talk about it from Sol's perspective, and we will in terms of him using the advantage, is like if Rachel goes, you have a 6-5 majority. Some might say that's better. Like everything that they're saying about coming back badly 5-6 is true of how good it would be to be 6-5. I used to talk about this a lot, and I maintain, you want to be a slim majority. And then that will really bond you. Like if you come back 7-4, now it's like we kind of already won the war. Who else is kind of up for grabs? Maybe that might be the one thing that kind of saves someone like a Kyle, who was like a threat in this Tuku group. So yeah, like being a 6-5 and being like, we'll avenge you, Rachel, in this really unfair thing that happened. That could have been actually really unifying. And then being 5-6 is awful. And if you want to be, it's everything they were saying about why you start like pushing people off the ship that's sinking, is that you want to be, I think, like an extreme minority to be like, we're just 4 people. Like we're nothing now compared to like, the 6-5, like you actually need to strike now. Like you have to you actively cannot miss that shot at 11. So possibly it could have like, they could have not been that worried about Rachel and it would have been fine, but they all cared so much about her. And I think that was really impressive of where she's sitting
adorable.
Socially compared
she's
to,
so nice.
I didn't think that. It was because Caroline, who's very smart, calls her the glue of Goddard. Like, I can't believe that's true based on all of the evidence. But then the way that they were all talking about her and how worried they were, everything Caroline was saying about how dangerous Rachel is and how much people like her, that part did seem to make sense. So I think that that speaks well for her. But then
Rachel's she's got great social skills and she's on the bottom, which is the perfect place for someone like Rachel to be in, because she will find a way to build relationships. Like that's what she will do, and she's not super threatening, and she's funny. So
I'm not worried for her because I think she has this group now that she's like their mascot. It's like, we saved you, we were so worried about you. She's like, really? And then like I think she's got a great group in that. For Andy, I want to talk about it. Sam, what happened? Like I don't know. I assume Sam spoke to Andy. We didn't see it. But I know it seems like Sol gets in to have the conversation Sam needs to be having. Last week, I went to bat for Sam agreeing to put out Andy's name because I didn't want, Andy to be Mariah. And I didn't think that them all being so close with God, I thought that could make Andy the primary target. I thought Sam could come back and explain to Andy. They put out the narrative that he's the underdog, and now we've had to go with it. You weren't really in any danger. Rome was never going to play anything. He thought he was controlling the tribe. Now, even more so, people don't know how close we are. That narrative is great. We're controlling everything and we're a secret group. How was that not the conversation? How is Sol controlling the narrative to tell Andy? And now Andy's so, like, I still vouch for Sam's move because I think that if it was managed better, that can be done. But then like it's a 2-part move and you screwed up the second part. So now the first part, and Sol did it well and Genevieve did it great, and Sam really screwed that up, and it was just so upsetting to me because it's just terrible. So unfortunate.
It's get in first. And they were the first. That was the first conversation, because when they came back and instantly they were like, let's go talk. And Sol was the first conversation, and that just sets the narrative up. And he gave Andy exactly what Andy thought subconsciously in his head was happening, and he just fed him that, and it was on after that point.
You know
And
what's
he
I'm
had
waiting
interesting?
that Soul. You got to talk about Soul, Mark. I know
Yeah.
how much.
Ah,
No,
well,
that's-
no. I think it's interesting from Andy's perspective. Contrast the Soul and Genevieve conversations with Andy. Man, I love Soul. Soul, actually, I think Andy pulled Soul to the side to sort of be like, bro, why did you do that? I don't think it was actually Soul initiating it, which is fine. He did it, but he did a great job. But in that conversation, Andy is very much like, out of everyone on God's green earth, why was it me? I'm like, all of a sudden, like, we're like choosing people based on the range of options on God's green earth. But I don't think he cares that much. But anyway, like, it wasn't as if Andy was building a relationship. Andy was identifying mutual interests. He was like, like, what I'm looking for is a number one ally, and do you want to be my number one ally? Please be my number one ally. Whereas the conversation that Genevieve,
Oh.
the way that Genevieve approached Andy, as in the middle of the night, he's got his glasses on, he's like drawing up a hit list. It was very much more around emotional plus strategic. And Andy, the way that Andy was like, I have a vision, and he had like the crazy eye look in his face, and Genevieve was like, yes, another unhinged ally to work with. I cannot wait. Like, it was that was the unique difference between the two. The and also the I agree with Eden, like, the timing is important. So like immediately after Tribal Council, Andy's got smoke coming out of his ears. He bails Sol up, and Sol does an amazing job of turning voting into Andy into an ally. But also he puts himself in a subservient position to Andy, which I think is really smart for someone who has Andy's like neuroses. But like with Genevieve, it was Genevieve approaching him once he'd had a little bit of a chance to cool down. He'd like taken the edge off. Sol had already taken the edge off. I would love to know if Sol and Genevieve were working together on this. That would be like, oh my God, that would be so good.
When will we get a flashback on it?
Fucking
Because
robot.
I would have
Yeah.
chills.
That would be so good. Like a spider web. Ooh, that is invisible hand territory. So yeah. But yeah, but I think that the way that Genevieve did it was the timing suited Genevieve much better to kind of like come in with like when Andy had like was more in reflective mode, and then more receptive to a more emotional based plus strategic conversation. So I'm really impressed with Sol. I think he did a great job. Really impressed that Andy is not being too timid in terms of like taking the game into his own hands. I think he's really going to do it. He has a vision. Seriously, rewatch the tape. It's creepy as all hell. And then Genevieve's just blowing oxygen into that fire. It's going to turn to a blaze. So
Do you like
Genevieve
do you like
did a good job.
how Andy said to Sol, I need to know your next 3 moves are in line with me?
Yeah.
He's really putting it to
It
him.
really
Yeah.
reminded me of someone. I won't say who, but yeah, it did.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, who is it? Text me. I feel like Genevieve did a really good job of getting Andy like excited about it, and it did feel very natural. And Genevieve, I mean, she has a thing where like she like it's Survivor's about like when you love people, you do well. I think it was sort of said about like hairdressers, like who are such like people, you know, like, and that's their job. But Genevieve wants to like help people, and like I think it's burnt her because it was wrong with Rome, but it's also a broadly good, nurturing, social quality, right? And when it doesn't burn her, I think that there's probably, you know, high risk, high reward on it, but like it could go very, very well. And I think it will with Andy. I think with Andy, you look at someone like Sierra, who's so out on Andy. Like Sierra's so out on Andy that I'm like even lower on how Gotta went for her. And again, she could only take it to a 2-2. But the fact that like losing out in that leverage with Sam, like she doesn't want to work with Andy at all. I didn't realize it was that far gone, and I'm like pretty negative about where like that is for her. But I do think as well that, sorry, what was I saying with Gotta? Oh yeah, this was it. The reason Lava were fine is because they've already been with Rome, right?
Yeah.
Sierra's like, who could work with Andy? They're like, Lava was like, this is child's play. Andy is completely fine compared to Rome.
Compared to
like,
Rome,
that's why Sol and Genevieve, they're all like, this is fine. And Gotta, like Sarah's like so sloppy, and Genevieve's like, I've seen sloppier. Like it could be worse. I'm willing to take the chance on Andy.
Shannon, you're being. I think you've misread Genevieve. You're saying that she's trying to help people. I think Genevieve is like, she is a master in manipulation. I don't think she's trying to help. She's just like, I am going to use my skills.
But she's projecting. the helpful friend. I don't think
No, but
she's
it's not just that.
actually.
No, I really
That's
think
what I
like
think she's doing.
I mean it will
She's
help
a
her in the
corporate
game.
lawyer.
It will help her in the game, but it has to come from something real. Like, of course she's doing it for her benefit, and of course she can use it. But she has a confessional where she's like, the reason she connects with Andy and sees it as like a really true connection is because he had that meltdown on the mat, and her heart went out to him, and she connects with him on that rather than being turned off by that. Which some like Sierra, as an example,
I read
might
the
be.
complete opposite way. She was like, I saw how
How
badly
weak-minded
that
he is.
went. Yes.
Do you think? No, that's not what she was saying. Do you think she was like, I saw him struggle in his lowest moment, and I was like, I can exploit this? I think she was like,
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
it can be both things.
She's
It
got a
can be. It's
Shannon,
not
she's got a
mutually
type.
exclusive.
She's got a type.
I know.
Rome
I'm like,
type.
I know she's happily married, but if she was single, I'd be like, I'm concerned for your dating. Like,
Her
she
type
was
is
like-
red
No,
flag.
Genevieve's
It's
totally
flag.
fine. She's totally she's at peace with herself. She's like, I've worked with these people before. I know what they need. I am
yeah, went
smarter
very
than
well with
them.
Rome.
I am. She cast Rome out like he
Yeah,
was
but then I'll cut
yesterday's
you, and then I'll
trash.
rebuild. Yeah,
Doesn't bother. Like, she doesn't
Yeah.
care. She wasn't sleeping. She was fine. She's like, oh, out with Rome, in with Andy. Like, she's got the best teeth in like Australian US Survivor history. She's got one. She's chomped through Rome. Now she's chomping through Andy. She'll chomp through half of this tribe. She's chomping her way to the end. She's doing so well, and I don't think it's from like a kind-hearted place. I think Genevieve is here to play. You know what I love about Genevieve is I just want to throw one thing out. Remember when they voted out Keyshawn? Amazing move. Genevieve had a moment of pure bliss at Tribal Council of like evil delight. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff was like, you seem to be enjoying this too much. And that was the real Genevieve coming through, her being like, because she knew she was about to knife Keyshawn in the back and he had no idea. And she let the joy come out. And I think that is the real Genevieve. She doesn't show up much, but that's real Genevieve. I love her for it.
It can be like,
of course,
be a Slytherin
that's
on
why it's so
Survivor,
good.
but be a Hufflepuff person. Like, I think that she, I think that. And she probably has a bit of that too. I mean, this isn't the Tessa podcast, but I think that she has. I think there is a real connection, even with Rome. I think she found Rome fun. Like, in the little bit of content we had before she had her breakout episode, like, I think she was like, I think there's a true thing there, and I don't think it's calculated. That's what it can be calculated and to her benefit, and she will use it very, very well. But it can also be based on like a real genuine. She's such a social person. Like, she's a social queen, and like that connection is based on something really true. You look like a player like D. Like, some people said that she was like, too loyal to her allies and stuff, but like that again, like for her, it was like that true loyalty and stuff that really connected people. For Genevieve, I think it's like a really true charm. It comes from something very real, and then she uses it. And I think there is a connection with Andy, and I don't think she was thinking in his worst moment, I'm going to really exploit this guy. I think she was thinking, that poor guy, and she likes him, and she's going to use it to hopefully both of their benefit. But if it can only be to one of their benefit, it will be to hers. But I think as well with her, she with the high risk, high reward of these like, injured bird type players that she keeps picking up, and the danger of that, she's the perfect person to do it because she is so social that she'll rebound so well. So it's like, that didn't work out. Cutting that one, moving on to the next bad choice, and that will be
every single person
fine.
they voted off Red Tribe. She was having that scoop up conversation, and she was talking them through, and she was going back to them and saying like, this is just what we have to do and everything. She's like, she didn't have a lot to do this episode, but she's awesome. I loved it.
Yeah.
Well, she didn't get to vote, so because she didn't win a challenge, but she did outlast the winner of the challenge. We're following along what's happening here.
She's also got the most practical clothing. She wears long pants, long jacket with she has a long sleeve shirt, and she puts she tucks her socks over the bottom of her pants. So she's planned. She's a fan, because that's where the mozzies get in. Mozzies, mosquitoes for the American listeners. They get into the ankles. So like she is like,
I'm surprised
on every element. She is so like, she's so prepared. She's so smart. She's ahead of the game.
I'm honestly, she's surprised that she's prepared. Did you read her? She was playing Baldur's Gate 3 for most of the.
I loved her pregame interview so much.
Yeah,
I said she's a sparkly person from the beginning. I was a little concerned. She said she didn't learn how to make fire, and if Genevieve goes on fire at the final four, that'll be my villain origin story. But I did say to Peter, she mentioned Baldur's Gate. Is that the game you play? He's like, yes, I only talk about it incessantly, and I was like, I picked it up when you were talking about it every day. So I'm now more in for fire.
Yeah, gone at 4. That's it. Called it now.
Ooh, don't do
Yeah,
that.
well,
Don't put that
Yeah.
out in the universe.
Andy wins. It's gone.
Maybe there's
That's
like
an
final
Andy-
6 fire.
Yeah, and that's why they didn't show her to us for the first couple episodes, because they're like,
Because they're like,
they're gonna be so angry. Let's try and minimize this as much as we can until it's just we literally can't. Until the moment we literally can't. And oh my god, wow. I'm really concerned
Yep.
about that now. But yeah, in terms of Soul, it was a bit of a different conversation with Andy. Compared to Genevieve, I did find that there was like a little bit of that harshness with Andy, but they both try to turn the fact that he had just voted for Andy around. And I thought Soul was really helped by the fact that like Teeny's like, oh, Soul's the only known vote. I'm like, what about like more concerning for Andy? And what really I think helped Soul, and he did well too. But like, yeah, that there was a second vote for Andy, that he could be like, they
Yeah.
told me to do it, and I can prove it by the fact that it wasn't just me. Like, I didn't just have
Yeah.
that moment in the voting booth. Like, this was something that had been discussed and planned, and there's a second vote to prove it. Even more concerning for Andy, I think. And I think he did really well with that. What did you think about Andy giving Soul so much in terms of like, and then we're gonna come for Goddard? Like, that's like quite a lot to give someone who just wrote your name down like 10 minutes ago, right? Like, what did you think he did?
Yeah, I think that's how Andy plays the game, and that's why
He's sloppy. Have you heard?
He's so sloppy. Yeah, like this is why I love him, because he does things like this. He's reactionary. He quotes the movie Signs as well. Swing away, Andy. Swing away. He's just like, the fact that he has just given everything over to Soul. All Soul would have to do now is just go back and say, look, this is actually what's happening. Andy's gone full salting the earth so nothing grows again.
Salting it?
Yeah, you salt the earth.
Salting it. Soul.
So,
It's a
good.
pun.
Yeah, good. Yeah, good.
No. it's
We're
not
still
like
going.
that.
We're still going, guys. I'm thinking Simpsons references, Shannon. You should be on top of that.
I put up "Thank you, Ma Stranger" for the way Rachel was like, "Thank you, whoever you are." Yeah.
I heard that.
Yeah.
Good. I think it was terrible on Andy. I think Andy came across too sort of angry at Soul initially, and it was only Soul's mirroring. Soul's not mirroring Andy's. He's bringing him down to be like, let's just have a conversation. But to come out there and being like, why did you do this? Why did you've attacked me and everything like that? And I think it just goes to show you how well Soul can. We like, when you do management training, we talk about. You move from behind the counter, you take someone away, you sit down with them, then you don't mirror their energy and you bring it down to your energy. And Soul's just doing all these things. Like, he's a medical sales. So he knows how to talk to people in those regards. Andy has set himself up to just like take everyone else down. But I think the thing that's going to work is that Soul needs these little connections to move forward in the game. So he's not going to burn that, and he's going to use it to his advantage. And I think there's going to be some really great cross-tribal alliances happening now, which I always love cross-tribal alliances when it really works. And so this is going to set up some interesting dynamics, because then you bring Jen's in there with Andy, then Soul's in. Is Teeny really super tight with those guys? We don't know.
I wish. We don't know. That's a big question mark.
Like, I'm really disappointed with sort of Teeny's edit at the moment. Like, I had really high hopes for her moving forward, but she just seems to just be swallowed up in everything else. I'm hoping she managed to get her feet under her again and actually start pulling off something, because
you mean that all of these twists are preventing people from
happening
explaining
people's
their game?
gameplay?
Yeah. Teeny hasn't, Teeny was safe last time. Like, as safe, like, not a tribal this time. Like, there's not a lot. Teeny's having potato salad and enjoying it after not getting potato salad a couple of weeks ago. Finally got and enjoyed the potato salad. So that's what the important thing is. I think that the dynamics for me will be between these kind of two power groups we've heard about. Like, is Tuku still so concerning that as a 4, that they're the problem? Someone like Carl, who does have these stats now. Someone like Carl, who I thought this was good for Gabe, but not great for Carl, and they were mentioning it on the know-it-alls. Like, voting with Tuku, like, he could have been a lone wolf, or maybe Gabe's the bigger issue. But now he's like hard for me to see how like Carl isn't a major person of concern next time. But then I also think the other part is like, we've always heard of Sam and Sierra. So if Tuku have kind of dealt with their own issues now and are less of the threat now, then I do wonder if we go back to Sam and Sierra. And I do think someone like Soul, especially if like, how quickly is Andy getting to, the point where he wants to turn? Someone like Soul is incentivized to want to take out Sam and Sierra. And I do think Andy is competing, not that he really knows, but like, Sam gave Soul a lot. So Andy needs to give Soul a lot too. I still think it was kind of dicey, and he just wrote his name down, and it wasn't necessarily considered, and he could probably have softened just like, we're going to turn on Goddard. You can quote me. I'm coming for my allies. But I do think that Sol and many people are incentivized to look at someone like Sam. So Sam and Kyle, I think, are in concerning spots moving forward.
I think, you know, like, again, I feel like I'm in a slightly contrarian camp
I
here.
love
But
it.
like,
I love it.
I think that Andy, it's classic Andy, and it makes sense for Andy. Like, why would Andy not go all in on, like, it actually shows that Andy has somehow figured out that it's not, that Gata is not his
That
people.
is good. Yeah.
And picking up Sol is like,
Yeah.
whether he did it intentionally
right
or not,
thing.
I still
Yeah.
think he actually, it takes courage. And I, on day one, he was covered in sand crying to Jeff. And then now, like 2 weeks later, he is taken the game by the scruff of the neck, and he's running with it, and he's putting Sol in a position where, you know, like he's taking charge of the game in a way which he also looks kind of not threatening. So I think it actually, I know it's not how we would do it, but I think, and I still think he came on way too harsh. But I think the message, the words that came out of his mouth eventually made sense, and I think it was quite good. And I just want to say with Sol as well, the way that I think Sol has been kind of like, this is a deep cut, Garrick and Kelly. I feel like Garrick was stunned in a way. Like, Garrick is a really potentially amazing Survivor player, but having Kelly there was just like a big, like, water, like, you know, heavy metal in an air base in Iraq, you know, like, can't get the noise out of my head sort of thing.
Oh my God.
Like, I think Rome was the same distraction for Sol. I think Sol never got into the groove. Sol was so surprised. I love the confessional that Sol gave, being like, you know, I've got 30 years of experience in marketing and sales, and I have no idea what's going on. But now, like, I think that with Rome gone, he turned it around last episode, which was amazing. But I think he's kind of getting into his groove, and the way that Andy came to him, it's not like he immediately threw out, "Hey, Sam threw you under the bus." He absorbed the impact. Like what Eden was saying, he absorbed the impact. He softened it. He got him to a state where he was actually listening. And then at the end, he kind of said, "Oh, and by the way, it was Sam." So I think that was like really quite skillful from Sol. Where I agree, Sam's in a bit of trouble. But what I want to highlight is that stupid little idol that Sam has. I haven't forgotten about that one. That is,
Sierra's
that is
going home on a split, or maybe not on a split. He going on a split, doesn't have an idol, but on a I'm too scared and I'm putting numbers on Sierra now, possibly.
Yeah, or maybe he can flash that somehow and to someone. I don't know.
But
quite
Rachel
how it works.
knows that it. Or does Rachel know that it was a one tribal idol? We never found that out, actually.
Yeah, we don't know who knows what Sam. So
dead.
Sierra knows what. Oh yeah, I see what you mean. Does Rachel know that it was a one-time first tribal council?
Because then she holds a lot of power. She's held so much power with that idol the whole time. Like, it was the fact that they weren't managing Andy well on that, and now it's not surprising, I guess, that they haven't managed him well on this too, because I think that they've left these gaps the whole time. I mean, I'm not low on what Andy did. I think maybe soften it a little bit would be maybe not just like death to Goddard, which is kind of the maybe just a little bit like we could really do something, like really like give him. You have to give Sol something, and I think building it is important. And I'm not low on it. I just think it was
believable.
A little bit to someone who did just vote for you. Yeah, and I do think you make great points about how well Sol did in that. Like, I think he really he received it, and like when Andy asked questions, he answered everyone really well, really patiently. Like, he was contrite. He gave him the truth without just being like, "It was Sam. They made me do it." You know, like he came in really calm, and it was really good. Do we have any what about Sol's? Do we have anything on Sol's decision? Is there anything on giving it to Rachel? Because as you said, Mark, like, it is true that a lot of it is structural. Like, Sol, Tiana said in the exit, she had a great relationship with Sol, you know? So is it just like a structural thing there? Because there's three things he can do, right? Like, he can give it to Kudu bury Rachel and just be like a villain, and that would just be awful. Or he can do nothing, you know? And as I said, like, stay with the slim majority of 6-5, let Rachel be the person we're doing it for, but not competing against in my own alliance. Or do you give it to her now you have like the question, he's kept it a secret. Will he kind of out that? Will he use it to bond with Rachel? Will he use it as a move at a, I don't know. What do you think about this, Eden?
You go, Eden.
You go, Mark. You go.
Well, yeah.
Oh, look at us. I would say I think that it's a good, because it's anonymous. I think that, and I don't know how much of a fan Sol is. And again, I think that Sol is a lovable character, and I think that keeping it a secret and holding it potentially to the very end suits Sol quite well. So I think that imagine that now, like every person going to the jury gets voted off, and they're like, "Who was it? Who was it? Who was it? Who was it?" And then if he gets to the end and he was like, "It was me," like not in like a I am the greatest game player of all time, and I held this like secret from you, and you guys didn't figure it out. No, being more like, I've been at, because everyone talks about playing. This is a pet peeve of mine. I don't like it when everyone's like, "You got to play the game." Like everyone's playing the game. They are like, they're just doing it in different ways. I really get annoyed by that. But I think that this would be a good way to highlight you, like having fun playing the game. And I think that's really endearing at a final tribal council. I think it would be really fun for Sol to be like, and guess what, everyone? It was me. Woo-hoo! Like pew pew pew, like doing those little ones. And I think
with
it would
the
be
finger
really
gun.
funny.
Very
with the finger gun. Pew, pew, pew.
Yeah.
Like I think
And
that would be really funny.
Tiana's not on the jury.
She's not there. She's not
that's
there.
the best thing about it, because you're not going to piss someone off being like, it was you.
Yeah, everyone's there, because it'll be a running thing. Like if he gets to the end, it'll be a running thing. Like go to the jury, they're all there. Like who was it? It was you. No. And then it'll be like the grand reveal. So I think that it's less a strategic, more a theatrical move. And I think it's really, I think the theater and Survivor are intertwined, and I think it would work really well with Sol to do that. So yeah, that's what I think. And that's valuable. I think it's valuable.
Yeah. Any reveal, anything that you have, just you. Anything that you know that's just yours is so valuable, like later on in the game where you have that in your back pocket. I think as soon as it's like a magic trick. As soon as you know how it's done, as soon as you tell someone how it's done, it's less impressive. It's like, okay, that's easy. But before that fact, it's got power in its, how it's sort of perceived.
Yeah, I do think it's funny that the second, like Rome, who was like on his back, not letting him look for stuff, the second Rome's out, he finds the thing, which was to be there, right there. But yeah, I do think that for me, I had the exact same thought. So it must be right. We've come to the conclusion. It's for the theatrics, it is. And especially in a short game, like I go back to the Gabler of it all. My brother's always like, don't do it. Don't use that as like the benchmark of what we should be doing. But he did like one thing that I didn't even agree with. And even that was like, he did the loud thing, in a fairly even final three. If that's something you have to speak to, especially if there has been like an aura around it, I still don't know. I still think he can kind of see where he can go with it, because you might want to use it to really get that group together, really make that relationship with Rachel, especially if Tuku don't seem too mad and are just like, that's the game. And Tiana's not there, obviously, and she's not on the jury. So, well, I mean, from a jury perspective, it doesn't really matter. But she's gone. She was the main person. They all voted together again, so they've all survived it. Maybe they're okay. I think you could use it. I think you look at how it goes through it. But yeah, I do think that the aura of the reveal is probably the most enticing thing for me. And in a short game, I think I just go with like, where can you just like get points? People are talking about big flashy moves. Some people will vote for that, especially, if you're sitting next to two people where there's little to differentiate it. So yeah, I think that, that's probably what I would do with it.
Can I just say, Sol finding the advantage, right? I love the editors are loving the juxtaposition of the season. So you have them, everyone sitting down. You have Andy do the thing. Andy's so sloppy. Look at him. He's wandering around. Yeah,
what an idiot.
And then you have Sol doing the exact same thing, and everyone's like, golf clap, Sol. Brilliant.
Yeah.
It's just they're loving the juxtaposition. The editing's really fun this season as well. They're really going all in on it. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I had a couple of questions, because I was thinking about, how Teenie and Genevieve is just like, the challenge is over. No one wins. Carl already won, even though you're still in the game. And I just had a couple of ideas I want to throw at you about what if they should still compete for something. What if?
I think they should.
They should have, yeah.
So you need a winner.
But what should they compete for? Because you don't want to put more in the game. I did think maybe like a challenge advantage next time, where you're not getting voted out now, then it'll be you, so you're not going to like go home for it. But what if it's the reward is going to be like the candy, the cake, the popcorn reward. That's the most iconic probably example of when everyone goes in one by one, and the winner will choose an unidentified thing, but then what it will end up being is you choose the order, and the thing that's buried in the candy, the cake, the popcorn is this scroll, the soul scroll. And that's how it's found, because it was a little lackluster, but it was just like, there it is, and we'll keep zooming in on it. Is there anything there? Is there something fun there, or is that not
So
the
you're
vibe?
setting up the winner of it getting some sort of
Getting
extra
to
advantage
choose
to
the
possibly
order
get the
of getting to choose the order. And then if you like don't want to put your, because I was thinking another thing that you could do is like, which they've also done in Australian Survivor, all my ideas are just stolen from Australian Survivor, which they stole from old US Survivor. So that's where we're at with all of this. But I did think what you could do is like you could have 6 different meals, and
I was
then
gonna
you know
say the
choose who.
order one,
But that's really a punishment, you know, like that's not really fair to win
someone
that.
gets the bread.
fun.
Yeah. And then Teeny doesn't get her potato salad, and that's not cool. But what if it's okay, we're all gonna go in one by one, and then but that person chooses the order. And if the person doesn't want to put their thumb on the scale, they can just be like, I choose for us to draw rocks, you know, or pick sticks. But if they want to really go first and maybe get the thing, they could get the thing. Because you don't want them to just win the scroll, obviously, because like the anonymity is a big part of what we're talking about.
Is the big part of
Yeah. So is this very convoluted? It was weird that Kyle won and that they just stopped playing. It was strange to me. I don't know. I was trying to think about what they could have won. Do you have
any
better
ideas,
ideas?
Eden?
Yeah.
I have one, but
Mark's not convinced on my popcorn order.
I'm still aggrieved by popcorn and scrolls, so don't raise that with me. But but I think they could have just turned what I think Survivor. They have too many twists already, so I don't want more time spent explaining freaking twists. So just make it fun. Just make it fun. You go to a reward. Let's assume Teeny wins because we love Teeny. Shout out Teeny.
We do also
Teeny
love
gets
Genevieve. Those are the 2 last options.
We've already
Teeny
piled on like
Teeny wins.
15
Great for
minutes
Teeny.
of
Yes, in this
love.
way, make Teeny one.
Yeah. So Teeny wins. Love her. She gets to sit at like the head table. There's like a big fancy chair. She gets to wear a little crown. There's like a table. You know, like just give her like a.
That's not worth winning the challenge. Like that's not worth even the threat level of having a challenge win. Like it's got to be something worth winning because it's not good to win, right?
But then like maybe she gets like
a brownie,
a special like I don't know, like a big extra rib, you know, like
no,
she
but they
gets
ate
like
too much already. Maybe they all get just the one hot dog, but she gets the potato salad. Like this is the one time that the reward was actually good. Maybe the reward is bad for everyone else and hers is actually good, but then people might resent her.
She could get like a serviette. She could get like gloves.
Serviette.
Like she might get to like clean her teeth afterwards or something. Like just like zhuzh up the reward for her.
What if it's a letter?
I was going to say letter from home. Letter from home.
Yeah, always go to the letter.
Just go to full loved one visit. Teeny's loved one comes around the corner.
That's a kind of big jump.
They're like the waiter.
Letter.
You know?
Man, the letter solves everything. Every single time I
think it's something from home, yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I discussed this with my brother today, and he did say letter. And I forgot until this moment. Letters.
Well, maybe they could get that Apple computer that they used to have. Remember that Apple computer that they used to like get the video from home on? The wheel that app.
Sprint.
They're the Sprint phones. A video phone.
I thought Tina got to like dial into like one of those like Apple computers and like.
Didn't Keith get proposed? Yeah. Didn't Keith do his proposal
on like an MSN equivalent? Yeah. Really showing like, our age. Our middle-aged martiness is coming out right now. With like
Tina just like pokes her sister. Yeah. On MSN. Yeah.
I think. Can you still poke on Facebook? Is that a thing?
Hold on a second.
I'll ask my mum.
That's what they are.
Yeah, I think you can. I think so.
Okay. Well, I look forward to getting poked.
Expect to poke in the morning, Shannon.
I don't even remember what I was. Oh yeah, the letters. The letters make people cry, and they should be using it more often. They can use that for the big things more than they do. They could have had a differentiator that made this way less clumsy than just Jeff being like, "You won, it's done." Yeah. They definitely could have had something. It could have been an element of choice, but I agree. Then that gets more twisty, more convoluted. How much stuff is this? In saying that, this was kind of a sleepy episode. They probably could have devoted content. The winning group didn't have a lot to talk about because, again, they're not like a winning tribe going back with possible future dynamics. They can be like, when we merge, we could do this one thing as a group. And then they were, playing baseball. So,
but what could have happened? What could have happened? They could have got there and been like, guys, there's probably going to be something around here. Let's all look for it. They all look for it as a group. They find it. They go, okay, what are we going to do? And that becomes like a whole big narrative. It's just how things like.
But that's still
fall
quite
into that.
simple. Like, that's
But
still
I think
not that much to do.
when you have the family, the letter from home gives you the chance to see players in a different way. So I think it affects the story and the relationships in an interesting way, because it's like it brings them. Everyone then gets to ask Teeny about whoever it is that wrote to her, and you get to like explore that relationship a lot more, which makes it a bit, maybe there's something in Teeny's story that, like, I don't know, Soul or who else is there?
Connects with, yeah.
Sierra is there, and she's like, "Oh wow, that's so cool." And then that takes a tangent, because I'm just let the players explore each other.
Yeah.
Like that's like the maximum value, I think, from the reward.
I think we
And
agreed.
it's
I think we've
interesting.
solved
Yeah.
it.
The letter we solved
Done.
it. But I can't. But I already said that 2 weeks ago they should have used the letters on the social hour. Like, there's only so many letters.
That's
to go
your
around.
fault.
Every
You're too
single
soon.
time I have a production decision where I'm like, how can they really make this feel way more impactful? I'm like, give them letters. Like every time.
And the other thing, it's only been like 2 weeks.
That's a very long time, Eden. So like we can't. I didn't think about that.
Got my letter. I still got my letter on the plane ride home, because it was the next day was the auction, so they still gave me they sneakily said, hey,
That's
do you
good.
want this?
I know
So I
Tiana
got
just missed it too. The auction,
Tiana.
and the jury.
I know this is. I'm reaching out to it.
Eden's
This is very reminiscent of my experience with the auction. The next episode as well.
It's very painful. Okay, well, this is sad. Should we do the chizzy?
Let's do it.
Yeah, take away Jacob, Sega Weinstein, and MC Color.
1, 2, 3. 1, 1, 1, 3. 1, 1, 3, 1, 1, 3. It's getting kind of chizzy. 3, 2, 1.
Okay, time for the chizzy. And we're going to do the 2 1-1s because it has to add up to 12, which is 2 6s. Usually we give out 6, but not this time. These are the chizzy charts.
Oh, yeah. So there's 3 of us. Yeah.
Yeah, so we're giving 3
what are
2
we
1,
doing?
but it's a 2 1 1, but one of the ones is better than the other one
Yeah.
Okay.
in our mind.
Can I go last?
I'm glad you gave this a lot of thought. Eden, do you want to go first?
Yeah. So are we saying with our ones?
Yeah, if you can. But don't start with the middle one. It's weird. Dino did that last
I'll
week.
start with the lowest of the low one.
Yeah, the worst of the ones.
My lowest of the low one is going to Soul. I think he did great consoling Andy.
Consoling him? Oh, this is happening now. We're starting to speak soul. Oh my God. Speaking from the soul, truly.
I think that was great. I thought that him finding the advantage, I think he played it really well, doing it on Rachel, keeping it secret, keeping it safe. So Soul's getting my 1 point. I think he's in a good position in the game now, and he's built some good relationships there. And then my other oneer is Andy. I'm going to give Andy one because I feel like it's come to fruition that, like, the curtains opening, the rain clouds have parted, and he's just finally seen clearly. He's like, I'm not the second person to Sam. Sam and Sierra are all in. I'm on the bottom over there. I need to do something about it. He's starting to make connections with Jen. He's going out on his own. He's doing his own thing. So I'm giving him 1 point as well.
Love that. And the 2? Caroline?
I know this is going to annoy Mark, but I'm going with Caro because I think that how Caro played the conversation with Tiana, I do believe keeping Gabe around is going to help her game moving forward, and she's eventually going to lose Gabe. She's going to still have Sue there. She's going to be able to move forward in the game and be able to get under the radar. I think just from that one conversation, it's given me a really good insight into how she sees the game, and I'm pretty excited to see where she goes. But from that one conversation, and you look, it did break her heart, but I think she made the right call in the end. So that's where my points are sitting at the moment.
Love it. Well, I'm doing some similar things. My lowest one, my 1 point, is to Rachel. I think I usually go the other way, but now I'm in it now. Mostly because just of the way they were talking about Rachel and how concerned they were about Rachel, and it's just a way better social standing with the group and with Goddard than I thought, and I wanted to reward that. Soul does choose to help Rachel. If he hated Rachel, he wouldn't do it. I know that it's a structural thing, but a lot of it might be for his flashy move, but he still, looks like he probably wants to, at least keep her in the game. If he hated Rachel, if Rachel was Rome, he's not getting safety without power. Obviously chose, the kind of obvious thing to do with, noping out of there. But I just think the way that they're talking about her, I wanted to give her a point. I'm giving a point to Sol for the choice there, for picking up Andy. Honorable mentions for me to Andy and Genevieve for doing similar things that will hopefully play out in points. And I do think it was, mostly it was handled really well by Sol and Genevieve, and by Andy as well. I'm like, 95% on it as well. I just think Sol, with having the decision, finding it, sending it, and also having that, to me, bumped up to the 1 point, the better 1 point, and then 2 to Caroline, because no real notes. I think that it went in an unfortunate direction just because of the twist. But other than that, I agree with her decision making. I think it's incredible that she just had so much power, so well positioned. Everyone was relying on her, and I think she was the only one really benefiting from Rachel going. And then even when, it hit the fan, she, I think, made a decision I agreed with. And I'm just really impressed with her approach and the way she talks to people, her logic. I'm very, very high on, Caroline. Like, she's subtly social, but she's also super logical. Like, I'm really, really enjoying it. So those are my points. Mark, what are you doing?
All good. Like, you guys make it so difficult, and I really shouldn't care this much. But I'm like listening. I'm going to go. My lowest one is Andy. I think I like that Andy took. I think it takes courage to do what he did. Execution is an Andy style. He sees the world through Andy's lens, and that's how it's going to be. So I'm giving 1 to Andy. My middle one is to Sol, because I think he found. Okay, we've already discussed at length everything that he's done well, but he also found the clue. Like, why? Like, no one else found the clue, and he did it. He set himself up well, and yeah, like, I really, really like the way that he has been positioning. I also think he did a really good job. Like, I mean, it's not a hangover. I just like the way that he went from like the Rome to this episode. And I'm giving 2 to Genevieve. I think that Genevieve is just it's amazing when Survivor shows in an edit like subtle gameplay, and it's incredible. And I think it needs to be applauded. And also, she could have won the. I still am an old school Survivor player where I think challenges matter, and I think she did really well. She's done. She could have won. It was her and Teeny, and she did really well as well. Like, it's not the reason why I'm giving her 2, but I think that she's actually done quite well physically as well. And no one's seeing her. No one's talking about Genevieve being
I know,
challenge beast. So I think she's managing her threat level really well, and she's adorable. So yeah, 2 to Genevieve, and that's it. And Caroline, honorable mention. Honorable. It's like her personality,
No,
and honorable mention, obviously. Caroline, Caroline, yeah. I forgot to say, when we were talking about Sam, there's this one clip where Andy's raging on Sam and Sierra, and Sam goes to give Sierra a hug, and in the process of doing so, he knocks Rachel in the head. Like, he just doesn't see it. And I think that was like a really fun little when we were talking about Sam before, like letting Andy go. Like, rewatch it. It's really funny. Like, just like bonks her in the head, as if to say like he's only got eyes for Sierra. So yeah, it's quite funny.
Well,
but yeah, I don't think there's anyone else I could potentially give it to. So yeah, that's all.
The interesting thing here is that, I mean, Caroline's going to win this week's Chizzy, but on a plurality, there's a 4. We do a 4, 3, 2, 2, 1. And now it puts Genevieve at 12 at the top of the charts, with Sol at 12 at the top of the charts now. So they're tying at the top. Yeah. Then Sam, obviously, on 11. Love these charts, as always, from Randy Noob. We'll have to say that. Andy's now gone to 9. Sue's on 9. Teeny remains on 9. And then we're now there's like quite a big gap. Rome's out of the game. Kyle's on 3. We've got, oh, no, Caroline's gone up to 6.
Karen's jumped up, yeah.
And yeah, Caroline went up. And then so Kyle's on 3, Rachel's on 2, Gabe's on 2, Tiana left on 1, and Asia is also, she left on 1. So, that's where...
she stuck around.
I know.
Yeah, we all kind of did. It was a bit of a thing. This was so fun. Do we have more? Is there anything else? Logan Ledger on Twitter had a question. He said, if this season were a movie, what would be its title? Eden, I think that one was for you.
There are a few titles that come to mind. I did see that come through, so I had a bit of a think. I think look, you could go with Twisters. There's a lot of twists happening. There's a lot of things happening. Jeff's loving that. I think Whiplash is another good one.
Oh.
I think some of the people that have been voted out, just the devastation on their faces, like absolute. Yeah, there you go, Mike. Whiplash is a great film. The other one is There's Something About Jen. There's something about Jen. Like, I just think that she's going to be the fulcrum of this show, and I think everyone is sleeping on her. But she is going to be the biggest player at the end of the day. So that's what I'm thinking. Does
it have to be movies? Could it be musicals? Because it's clearly 6.
Well, now it is.
Yeah.
Now it is. Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
6 person. Well, and just to be fair, it ended up being a 5-person vote for all of the 6 talk that we've done. Through this podcast, they did then conspire that it was either going to block a vote for 5 votes, or she was going to leave for 5 votes. So
Shannon, that's just
maybe
what they
he's
want you to
obsessed with
think.
5. Yeah, you're right.
They want you to throw you off.
Yeah,
this
it's
is what they're actually
working.
doing,
I don't even know what to believe anymore. I had a great time on this podcast. I am doubting my sense of reality, but I had a really fun time.
No, it was great. It was thanks for having us on. The invisible hand. Hopefully, it lives up to the expectations, because I know I had a great time. And thank you very much, Mark, for chilling with me.
Yeah, man, that was awesome. This is so good. This is really fun.
It was really fun.
No other notes.
Yeah,
that was really good.
No more. I think we
I'm
got
excited
it.
to see what happens next. Yeah, who's on next week, Shannon? Can you reveal?
Next week. Well, firstly, I'm not gonna lie to you. 30 minutes in, when we discussed, I don't even remember where we were. I was like, we are not getting through this podcast, but we covered it and we did it, and I'm surprised.
We're professionals.
I was like, I don't even know. But we were saying, did I ask if Lil was Catherine of Aragon? Because I think
I believe that came out.
Because she's not Aragon. She's definitely not Aragon as well. Like, that's also not right. I can't think of which one she is now, but she's not Aragon. Okay, I'm trying to. Jane Seymour. No.
Australia v World season 2.
You know what? She is Jane Seymour. She's always complaining. Okay, I'm glad I worked it out. She's Jane Seymour in 6. I clearly saw 6 this week because it's in my head. Next week, well, I think there's an episode next week. As you know, it's a 6th election to happen during Survivor. And if the episode gets cancelled, which I don't think it will, but like, I don't know what's going on in America. It's like a lot going on.
You think it would get cancelled?
Well, it's like if the result hasn't been like, I feel like there might still be content around that.
They might just
I don't know.
24-hour news cycle. Yeah.
The podcast is meant to be the Stockwatch crossover with Sharon, and if there's an episode, we will do that.
Fun.
Yeah. And another thing I wanted to say was Halloween, but we had a really fun Brant Steele where also musical. I was Hamilton, and everyone was in costume, and it was so funny.
Up. You looked very good.
I was backstage, obviously, for a lot of it, and I was just in the private chat. I'm like, this is objectively the funniest podcast of all time. Like, it was so funny. So I really recommend watching that. What about you guys, Mark? Tell the people where to find you. Podcasting, as you said, we put that at the top of the show, but tell the people.
So but mostly on Instagram, Mark with the K-T Warnock. Podcast Beyond the Edit is done, but go check it out. Eden, the chat with Eden is really, really fun. I highly recommend it. And the one with Caroline as well. It's actually flying up the charts, which is I'm very happy with. Yeah, which is great. A lot of tears. It's good. And then I don't know when the next episode with Annabelle from Australian Traders season 2 will be coming out, but we've already been spitballing a few ideas, and let me tell you, it's gonna be off the charts. So Babes on the Brink, check it out. It'll be there.
And what about you, Eden? Podcasting every week about Survivor?
Yeah. Check out Survivor Debrief with me and my bro. We're just doing our little recaps and a bit of a chat. Really fun. So that's been great. Also, just Instagram, Eden Porter 1, or on Twitter at Eden Porter. Any questions or anything, just shoot them over. And then I've also got my other podcast, Cancelled Movie Report, where we take unmade scripts that Hollywood never made, and we make we get the scripts and we recreate them with live voice casts, and recreate the best scenes of them, go through the whole script. It's the closest thing you can get to seeing the films without them actually being made. So check that out. We're in between seasons at the moment, but that's another, for any cinephiles out there, it's a must watch. That's what I'm up to.
Love it. Well, thank you both. Follow me at Shannon Gates, subscribe to the International Survivor RHAP feed. But this was so fun. What a fun way to spend my Saturday night. No regrets. Loved it.
Hey, guess what, Shannon?
What?
I'm also thinking of going to the States next year. Just a low key thing to drop at the end. So if anyone's here,
Anytime. Yes,
can
you should do that.
well, yeah. So if I go to the States and you're listening and there's parties, invite me.
There are
Please. Let me
so
know.
many parties. There are so many parties. I'm so jealous though if you do because it's so fun.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
The world is your oyster.
Dreams.
Yeah.
Dreams.
Oh, yeah. Well, anyway, this was amazing.
Okay.
Had such a great time.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much. Thank you to our team behind the scenes. Thank you to everyone listening, and I will see you next time. Bye.
6.
Bye.